Hey, we're doing a hard start at 1:30, so hurry up and get your meals, sit down, have a seat. We're trying to accommodate folks on the inside that are supposed to be calling in, that are on a timely schedule. If folks understand, folks can only be at the phone at a certain time of the day, and they have day rooms at a certain time, so we want to, in communicating with folks inside, we want to do a hard start like right now. For ACRS has asked us to wear our masks if we're not actively eating or drinking or speaking, because this is considered a medical facility as well for community members and elderly community members. So in consideration of them folks, please wear your mask. For access needs, please let us know as well. The closest bathroom is out that door and to your right. And there's some ACRS folks out there that will show you the way to the bathroom, and there's to the bathroom as well, folks that have access needs as well. There's water in the back, there's snacks in the back, but if there's anything else that may come up or that you may need, please make us aware of it. I want to first thank the elder, and food will be food. If you haven't got food yet, food will be after Mark speaks. I just want to say that I'm honored, and it's a privilege to stand up here with the elder Mark Cook. I think what we have to acknowledge that we are just a lineage of a movement that folks before us has started, and we're just trying to be a continuum of that. We just play a small role in a larger movement. I just want to acknowledge that first. I want to acknowledge ACRS for providing this space, for helping us organize this event. And I do also want to say that this is not just an ACRS event. This is just not just a fight event or an API KhAAG event. It's a community event. It's a BPC event. It's an NGC event as well. And most of all, this event came up because folks inside organize it. Like we just play a supporting role. This is the ideas of folks inside, and they wanted to put it together because it's something that's really important to them. And we want to honor their movement and their fight for liberation. Right? What else? You have anything else to add?
Sure. Oh, and my name's Andy Pacificar, and as he said, this event is from the collective inside, and there's going to be a call to action later, and they're going to present it to you. And so they really need your help on this issue that this whole event started from. And like he said, it's a collective of the Hispanics, the blacks, the Asians, and the Native Circle. And we're trying to keep these organizations going, and so you'll hear the rest from these brilliant men that are still staying in a box. Yeah, that's what I thought we was gonna do that when. So, anyways, this event, the theme is from Felix Sitthivong and the collective. The BPC, they worked hard on this, and all of the collective. And like I said, you're gonna hear amazing people. But what we're doing is the history of the movement, and we're gonna start the story from Mr. Cook, and then on to me. I founded the API KhAAG in 1994. And then this man right here took it over after I was released, and it evolved into from him to Felix, and it's evolved to what it is today, and it was amazing.
Could we have Shaidan Howell up here to do a landing? I apologize for that.
Names are going to be first. The prayer.
Is Johnny here?
Yeah.
Mr. Johnny Cachero.
Mr. Johnny Cachero. Come on down.
They changed it up to the native one to do.
Okay.
People going to do both.
Okay.
So let me introduce them. Okay. Shaidan, because it's pretty tight.
How you doing, everybody? How you doing? You good? I can't tell if everyone's good because you guys got face masks on. Keeping everyone safe in here. I can see some happy eyes in the crowd though, and that feels very, very nice for me. Feel my nerves relaxing. I got the honor to come up here and to open this up with a prayer. That's how we do it inside. That's how we're gonna do it out here, with all due respect. Yeah. My name is Matt, Kanaka Maoli, better known as Hawaiian. I grew up inside. I was 17 when I went inside, and cultural groups played a big part in who I am today. You know, they talk about trauma. Trauma is a breakage in safety, agency, dignity, and belonging. And these cultural groups, they help me restore that. They help me find my safeties, find my agency, find my belonging, find my dignity. You know, we sing and we dance, and we move our bodies, and it's scientifically proven that that helps us move trauma through our bodies. You know, you got people out there, you know. Oh, yeah, all right, yep. Yeah, anyways, do what feels good for you, how you acknowledge yours. Aho, matakio, awai. Aho, kamenani hana akua. Ao mahalo no keleme oe hana. Ao mahalo no keleme. Ao ho'o pono ke ila. Kamenani hana akua. Ho'o mai kai kane wahine keki kapuna. Aho, matakio yas. You want to do the drum or you want me to hold it? We got the bro, Johnny Cachero, right here. Open us up with a song.
This song says, Great Spirit, I pray to you first. Great Spirit, I pray to you first. I will live with all my relatives. That's why I pray to you first. To open the space in Lakota.
Thank you, thank you. And this next person to give you this welcoming is Shaidan Howe from Gonzaga University wrote this welcoming, and it's called Evolve. Shaidan couldn't be here today, so his father is going to do it for you. Gaddafi?
Thank you, thank you. Can everybody hear me? I had strict instructions to make sure I read this from the phone, because that's how he would do it. No, I'll get it. It's called We Are Evolved. I am the byproduct of mass incarceration. I'm the byproduct of slavery. I'm the byproduct of the war on drugs. I'm the byproduct of redlining. I am the byproduct of Jim Crow laws. They call us, me, the minority, but the majority of us are in prison. We are the minority, but we're the majority of targets of violence. I am the minority, but I make up the majority deaths across the nation. I am the minority, but the majority follow our trends. They call us, me, the minority, but we built the majority of this country. I am a minority, but your minimalistic ideas and stereotypes do not define me. We are the living result of destroying the preconceived notions of what it is to be a minority. We define who we are. We define what it means to be us. We get choice, the option, the opportunity to be who we want to be unapologetically. We are the people that will break generational curse. We are the people that will choose what education means to us. We will stand up against our oppressors. We are ourselves. We are the people who will teach the future generations what it means to be ourselves. The oppressive mannerisms of the majority will not stop the cultural richness of us. You put us in chains, yet we dip them in gold and wear them around our necks. They used to call our hair dreadlocks, dreadful, so we named them dreadlocks. No matter what oppressive systems they try to put in front of us, we will always overcome and evolve, and that's what it means to be us. Thank you for your time.
Could you tell us a little bit more about yourself and why that poem was important to your son?
So, my name is Gaddafi Howe, and I did 16 years in prison, and my son was 6 months when I went in, and we didn't have a relationship except for over the phone. I used to call myself a telephone dad. And when I came home, it was like a culture shock for both of us. And myself, I got accepted to a university from inside, and he just thought that was so amazing. And so he was always asking me, Dad, what can I do? What can I do? I think I should just be a firefighter. I was like, a firefighter? And I'm like, no, there's so much greatness inside you. You can't let nothing stop you. Like, no matter where you are, who you are, like, you could do whatever you want. And a couple years later, he wound up getting a full ride scholarship to Gonzaga. He's there now, that's why he's not here. And so, like, my biggest lesson to him always is you got to know what you're fighting, and you can't tear down something unless you know what it is. So get in there, figure it out, and let's tear it down together.
And Dad was a valedictorian of his class with his BA. Thank you, Gaddafi. And so, like, if anybody knows me, whenever I speak, right, I always do this. And there's a chair sitting right there. And I always save that chair because the brothers that I left behind, or we left behind. And we're holding it down for them because this is their community.
I I think Felix is coming up next. And I think before Felix comes on, I kind of want to introduce myself as well. I'm a child of U.S. imperialism. My mother was a refugee that came over here on her own and tried to raise us in poverty. We weren't relocated, we were displaced into poverty. Let's get that clear. And I think the reason why our culture was important and the reason why API-KhAAG was important to us is when we not took it over, but when we kind of reformatted it, we thought that, we believed that our culture was just not about our identity. Our culture was more about our political position. And we came to that understanding, and that's why API-KhAAG is what it is today. Like, we started talking about liberation and freedom and talking about why are we here now. And I just want to contextualize it with that. We're more than a dance and a song. Yeah. And I think what DOC loves for us to do and what America loves for us to do in this quote unquote melting pot is to fit in and be digestible to them for their consumption. And we didn't want to be that. We understood why we are here, why we were locked up, and all that other stuff. And that's why API-KhAAG and the movement and BPC and NGC is the movement that it is today and what we're trying to fight towards. With that being said, if Felix is ready.
I should tell him how you guys run.
Mm-hmm. Do you want to say that?
Hey, so I'll just real brief while we're waiting on Felix. And when I started, I had to fight DOC. And it was like a 2-year battle because they said, we don't do cultural clubs. And it was so much less than what it is to what these guys and what Felix has done with this group. Was he on?
Yeah, can you hear us, Felix?
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, yeah, that's what's up. Okay, so first and foremost, I want to thank the community for being here for us today or there. And I actually want to ask everybody to please give a round of applause for our honor base, for Oloth, and also for Andy, who is founder of KhAAG, please. So my name is Felix Sitthivong. I'm currently 13 years into a 65-year stint. I'm at the Advocacy Correctional Center, and I'm the senior advisor for the API-KhAAG. I think I just want to start off today by kind of giving a little bit of history and kind of go into what brought us here today. Throughout the years, groups such as BPC, API-KhAAG, and NGC were created out of necessity due to the lack of resources provided with DOC. And, despite minimal departmental support, our various groups have created programs such as BPC Teach, a variety of ethnic studies courses, social justice forums, legislative summits, youth outreach workshops, internalized oppression training, immigration seminars, anti-ethnic violence curriculums, and just so much more, right? Despite the positive programs, though, and spaces that we've actually created for our people, DOC has pushed back against us every step of the way. And even when it seems like they accept our programs, it's nothing but a step towards co-optation, because, that's just what they do. Which is why our groups are also grounded in resistance, which was actually highlighted in 2019. 36 of us were shipped out of Consortium for peaceful demonstration against combat racist and discriminatory practices within our facility in DOC laws. Now, for years, our social awareness groups have commonly been labeled security threat groups. We've been scrutinized for our political stances. We've been subjected to unwarranted retaliation. And we've had our very existence criminalized, right? But here we are, still united. And DOC's latest attempt to erase us, they've been drafting a policy meant to get rid of all independent social awareness groups and consolidate them under a more administration-friendly group that they call diversity. And now their fight has also now evolved into an attack of all peer-led programs, which is actually at the heart of what we do. Throughout the process, the administration has refused to meet with us and our community and ignored all of our demands to have our voices heard in a policy that's going to directly impact us all. As a result of our advocacy work and demands to maintain our economy, DOC has suspended all of our group functions, meetings, and banned our sponsors from entering our facilities. No official reason to be given, but we know that this is a clear place of taking retaliation. So today, the event that we're hosting is an act of unity and resistance and a labor of love and responsibility. I want to continue by saying it's our responsibility to resist by preserving the legacies of those who have sacrificed to build our roots from the ground up when there was no model to follow. And you're actually going to hear a little bit more about that when Mr. Mark Cook speaks well in a little bit. It's our responsibility to resist by dismantling white supremacy. It's our responsibility to resist by rejecting patriarchy. It's our responsibility to resist by debating morality and abolition. It's our responsibility to resist by challenging gender norms and working towards a society where feminist theory comes to practice. And it's our responsibility to resist by loving one another in the most radical way possible. Today, you'll be hearing stories of that radical love of resistance. Stories of pain, grief, and triumph. And today, we ask our community, will you continue to resist with us? Will you continue to fight for a world where our people are no longer afraid to dream, and a world where those dreams actually matter? And I'm confident I know the answer. It just took some time, so we can actually feel all y'all in ourselves. I can need to hear your voices. So many of you guys are with us. I actually want to hear everybody in the audience say one love, one time for us, please. One love. One love. All right, man, I thought this was a Beyonce concert, man. Can I hear y'all say one love, one more time, please? One love. One love. And then one more time, let me hear you say abolition. Abolition. And also, let me hear you say resist, please. Resist! Thank you, God. So, as you guys are there today, I just want you to remember that today isn't an act of charity, it's an act of solidarity. We do what we do for our people, and we do because we love our community. That we preserve our culture through resistance, and that resistance doesn't stop just because DOC has taken a classroom space from us. It doesn't stop because we're not on the call-out list. Everything that y'all see today is community coming together to support one another, whether they're ACRF, FIGHT, BPC, NGC, KhAAG together, KhAAG, Liberation Media Northwest, Empowerment Avenue. This was a collaboration between everybody. And what we're actually trying to do is protect the legacies of those before us, but protect our quality of life now, and make sure that the next generation has a platform to be themselves in the most radical way possible. Today, you're actually going to hear a lot of people's stories, a lot of different acts of resistance, and I definitely want to give space to that. And I think that's my time. And I want to also, one last time, welcome everybody to the Collective Cultural Convictions event. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Felix. Real quick, I just want to acknowledge the families and the community members that holds it down for folks inside. I think that's what DOC doesn't want. That's why they make prisons in rural areas and stuff. That disconnect is a real thing, and for families and community members that hold it down for folks inside. Like it's very, very special to us, very, very endearing to us. You know, I think, you know, from the beginning, all we wanted to was, despite our mistakes, despite our pitfalls, for folks to recognize our humanity, right, and see us for the human beings that we still are. And it's just a testament to the families that are still here, the community members that are still here, holding it down and still staying connected to folks inside. I would say this also, like I got out like 5 years ago, and I couldn't imagine that a community event at ACRS would be possible, where we could talk about incarceration and the carceral system in not a stigmatized way, and that there's, you know, that we are all under the auspice of America and the United States of America and the government, and we are all some way, somehow subject to the policies and laws of America, and that we all somehow, some way, political prisoners, whether locked up or not. So with that being said, I think I'm gonna pass it to Andy, so he could introduce.
Yeah. Thank you. And so real quick, I just wanted to say that these men inside too, what Oloth didn't speak to yet, is that they're creating most of the positive programming in these cultural groups. They've done domestic violence workshops, nonviolent communication, and all the positive things that DOC doesn't, you know, provide for them. And so I just wanted to make sure. And then there's many formerly incarcerated men here. I work for the Freedom Project as my day job, and the executive director, who happens to be in this room, was thrown away at the age of 16 and told he was never going to be in the community again. He's now free and the executive director of the Freedom Project, and we're here to let people know we're here to receive them from their trauma of prison and help them get on their feet and be self-sustaining. And I just wanted to make sure that's clear, that there's a bunch of 40 formerly incarcerated men and women, I'm sorry, I stand corrected, many men and women. You know, we're here for one today. And with that said, I just want to introduce one of the men that started this movement. And all of us in this room, in this resistance, stand on this man's shoulder. And I'll let him tell you the rest. And I have the great pleasure to introduce Mark Cook.
Okay, all power to the people. You know, of all heroes that have gone in the past, and we picked up and tried to follow, my favorite is Harriet Tubman. Harriet Tubman was formerly a slave. She went back into the South and freed 300 more slaves. And she said she would have freed more than that if they only knew they were slaves. And that's, in a sense, what this group is about. All of these groups are about, these cultural groups, is realizing right now they are slaves. Under the 13th Amendment, that was one of the rottenest things that ever happened in this country. And they could call their Constitution a great Constitution. But when they made everybody who was convicted of a felon a slave, and that's for the rest of your life. They'll brand you when you get out as a slave. And check that box when you want to get a job. You check that box when you want to get a house to live in. And we're going to try and stop that. Somehow we're going to have to do what Harriet Tubman did. She broke the law. She got to break the law to change the law. At that time there was slavery. She had to break that law to change the law. When you see that people do all this marches in the South and take all that abuse while they were doing it, there were laws that said they were not supposed to do that. They were to suck up to what was written in their books, but they broke that law. They broke the laws over and over and over again. And you have to remember, some of these laws we're going to have to break. They're going to fight us hard. The things we want, the things we're entitled to have, be freedom of speech, whether it's just standing up with a microphone or voting. Everybody is entitled for the freedom of speech, to vote. The right to vote, the right to work and get paid for it. That's a right, not a privilege they give to us. All of this stuff we're going to have to fight for. And some people have to realize that they are slaves and they're going to have to fight to get out from underneath that. And it's going to help America grow. To have slaves is not helping in America, it's just helping a class within America. The people who don't have to pay workers anymore have to kick them aside and just keep taking that profit. I was locked up behind bars at the age of about 14 years old. I spent 40 years of my life behind bars. Most of it in the federal penitentiaries, where I met political prisoners who schooled me. Even though I was down with them, the school would be telling to go out when you get a chance to go out and speak about what we're in here for. I have a picture here with Leonard Peltier. We were in Leavenworth together, and he said there's a struggle within the Native Americans at that time. They call it, there were the traditionals and the progressives. He said a lot of the progressives ended up in prison. And he said that fight is not against the people who stayed as traditional. They just have to realize that they have a right to speak and speak on a smooth field. Goalposts have to be the same for everybody. The struggle we had in Walla Walla to get Culture Group started, that wasn't the plan. The plan was just to see a movie. Okay, and you know how racism goes. There was a movie about a black man, Jim Brown, and a white woman, Raquel Welch. And they said, you ain't gonna show that movie in this penitentiary. Well, we had the right to choose what movie we wanted to see. And they said no, so we're gonna lock down. Okay, we're gonna lock down until we get a chance to look at that movie. All the black prisoners in Walla Walla locked down at that time. It seemed like a very long strike to me. They took our leaders away and locked them over in federal penitentiary in McNeil Island. Jim Robidoux, he was the first one to start the Native American groups in the prison system. Don Cole, he was one that really was the first one to start a white group that had reason. He started what they called the Lifers Group. They were left out in a lot of things. So anybody who had 20 years or more belonged to the Lifers Group. That sucked in, of course, all the white prisoners and all the people of color also who had life sentences. There was the black groups. It was started behind the Black Panthers. Oakland gave us a charter as a Black Panther group in the prison, the first one and only one in the United States that I know of. With that power, we went before the warden and asked him for permission to start a black culture group in there. Well, I wasn't really asking him for permission. They told me they weren't going to have any other black groups in Washington State Penitentiary. And he said, if you want a culture group, you go out in that population, you find people who want a culture group, Hispanic, Native American, white, black, bring them in here. And if you don't bring them in here before me, he said, I'm going to lock you up in that hole for 1 year, which wasn't a fair deal, you know. So I went out in the population, and of course, I found Robidoux. And Robidoux said, sure, we can fight the five tribes. We can do that right now. And there was another man out in the population, Pablo Griego. He started the first Hispanic group in Washington State prison system. And so we were on our way. Of course, Don Cole, he stepped in. He said he wanted a white group. It took us a while to figure out what it was. We sat down and talked to him. Finally, he says, we're doing a lifers group. Got all the prisoners together and really got on a roll down there. There's only 3 prisons in the state of Washington at that time. There's Purdy, Walla Walla, and Monroe. After we got our group going, people in Monroe wanted a group similar to ours in Walla Walla. We called it the Black Prisoners Forum Unlimited. That's BPFU. The warden wouldn't let us use the BUF. That was Black United Front in Chicago. He said, you can't use those letters. And so we said, okay, we just changed it to BPFU. Got those letters in there anyways. We sent a program to Monroe, and there was a dispute there. They wanted a culture program there, but they did not. They risked having another Black Panther party up there. And so they started the Black Prisoners Caucus Unlimited. The person who did that was somebody I had sent from Walla Walla. He wanted to get closer to his home in Seattle. So I sent a letter to the administration asking for his transfer. He transferred up there, and his name was Autry Sturgis. He became the first president of the Black Prisoners Caucus. Unfortunately, he turned into a bum when he got out, a real bum. He got me locked up for 24 years in federal penitentiary. But there's a lot of struggle, and the struggle doesn't come easy. I don't care whether you're on the streets or in the prison. When you struggle, you're going to find people who are going to turn on you. I've had them turn on me in a wall many times. And I thought I was never getting out. I had 210 years to do. Warden says as long as he is a warden, he'd never let me out of that prison. And I said, okay. But we worked and we changed the whole prison system. It was a great change, and we wished it would have spread across the United States. It didn't last that long. The prisoners had half the control of the institution legally. We handled the recreation and treatment programs, and the administration handled the security and the custody programs. And things were working fine. We had one program was going on where prisoners started getting paid from their own work. We worked as reupholsters. I didn't know this still exists. But we started a program in Walla Walla for reupholstery of furniture. All furniture comes in damaged from other agencies and divisions outside of the prison, or colleges, schools. And it started a small business just for about 16 prisoners. And the profits we got for that, we paid ourselves, and we were the highest paid prisoners in the United States for a time. But I hear now they have that upholstery as the prison industry program in Walla Walla. I didn't know that. And it was the first, at that time, it was the first prison project that ever made any profit. And so you can push hard enough, you can get anything done. We had programs where prisoners could be sent outside of the prison, even if you had a life sentence, for a visit to their family sometimes, and sometimes just do another program outside. I was sent to Seattle for 1 year in a halfway house, and while I was there, I helped start a program we call Convention 72, to write for prisoners to have the right to vote and have wages, have decent, fair labor conditions, etc. And I asked that prisoners inside the prison be sent to Seattle to join us in this party. We call it Convention. They brought not only the prisoners, but some of the prison staff came also to Seattle. We held conventions in what they call El Centro de la Raza here in Seattle, in Langston Hughes, and down there in the Pollock Hall. Well, it's not the Pollock Hall, it's called the Washington Hall now. And it was very successful. I was waiting for the Panthers to get back to Seattle. When I got out, of course, being a Black Panther, I'm looking for Seattle Black Panthers. And they're all in Oakland being bodyguards, Elaine Brown, who was a chairperson of the Black Panther Party. So in my spare time, I decided to keep things rolling. So every year, I'd hold these conventions. And there's a lot of help from a lot of people to keep that thing rolling. Well, other programs started that were more emphatic than what I was doing. And it dealt with prisoners. There was a prisoners union who was doing a prison paper. They were going inside of Monroe. I don't know if people remember the Sunfighter. It was a paper for prisoners, by prisoners. And pretty successful program outside of prison. And this was the beginning of very radical journalism that started in Seattle and in the area. The idea of journalism to move prisoners started with the underground newspaper in Walla Walla. It's called The Bomb. In The Bomb, it's mentioned here in the brochure. You can see how it was printed. The administration never found out how we did this. Not until I got out, ran my mouth like a fool out here in the streets, and now they know. But there's no way they can ever stop that paper again, because the stuff we did it with don't exist any longer. What I'm trying to get across is that we can do the impossible inside. We don't always need the administration's support when we do this stuff. Oh, go ahead.
Quick question for the elder. Just to contextualize all of this, why was the cultural groups important to you, and why did you start organizing it?
Well, the culture groups are important to me as Black Panther first because somebody mentioned it earlier. What the administration won't do for you, we'll do for ourselves. Yeah. And that's the whole theme of the Black Panthers. And they started clinics here in Seattle and around the country, food banks. But anyways, now the culture groups have really grown. They're not to a point I'd like to see them. A Black culture group within a penitentiary deals with more than just the American Black. There's foreign Black people coming, and they have cultures that need to be addressed. We were able to help start Muslim communities in all the prisons. And once that was started, of course, with the Jewish communities got their holidays, the way they could celebrate them. What do they call it in the fashion of the Jewish people? Anyways, they had special food, special cooking, etc. The Native Americans, they got to do the sweat lodges and have other community problems inside of prisons, and they were shared. The Hispanic groups are changing now. There's not just the American Spanish. In fact, it's divided in many ways. And there's different cultural programs for each one. These keep us in touch with what's happening outside, and that's the important thing. When we're going to come out now, we're have no real chance to jump right into the working class, which is important, but we have a chance to jump into cultures, go to our cultures areas, and they'll tell us where we can find things, find resources and jobs.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think we're going to have another brother pretty soon.
Okay. Yeah, this is supposed to start about 1:20, but we kind of overran. I'm overrunning right now. But I'm here. I'm very proud that you've honored me to come up here and see what you're doing now in prison. It's something we were aiming for, and we never imagined it'd be this many prisons in the state of Washington now. But these culture groups are going to make big changes if they're given the right to do it and guide themselves. We don't need no guide by the administration, by the DOC. Prisoners can do it themselves. Just follow us, and we're not going to hurt them. We're not going to bite. Okay, but the 40 years I spent in prison, I learned. That was my college. I learned a great many things, and some things I can't talk about, but they were very productive things. And I'm looking forward to working with you now any way I can.
Hey, can I get you guys to stand up for him? Because here we are with Mark Cook. Mark Cook, everybody. This is where it started. Thank you so much, Mark. We appreciate you. Thank you. Power to the people. Power to the people. If you notice around here, all you see is colored faces.
Thank you again to the elder, to the lineage that we follow of organizing, especially organizing inside under the constraints of DOC. Just a reminder, the reason why we're here is because DOC is changing its policy around cultural groups and trying to limit how the way we express ourselves and identify ourselves and how we get things. With that being said, I want to transition and give acknowledgments to the folks at Purdy as well. There's also folks at Purdy organizing. There's a BPC group at Purdy as well. There's an API Sisters group at Purdy as well. And we are also honored to have someone come up to speak upon organize everything they want to do around Purdy. Please welcome Deedee. Deedee is an amazing community member, has been a part of the community for a while. If y'all know anything about Seattle history, I think Deedee was one of the first ones to resist the no new youth jail stuff that was going on a while ago. I think that has to be emphasized and highlighted, and how they talk about incarceration in King County and Seattle today. And I think that's an acknowledgement and an honor to welcome up Deedee to speak about their organizing. Welcome. Come on, Deedee. You need water. You're good.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. What a surprise. But obviously, we all here for the common goal and a common, a better community in our world, right? As we all connect in different ways, but the struggle is still real. As real as it could be. The system is real. And it takes us to change the very system that we wanted to see better, right? Anytime a system or a government or an institution who could organize against your children at the lowest level, fund a prison instead of education, lets you know that we are the wrong system. So, it's near and dear to my heart. That's why it's emotional. But I'm just give you guys a little background. I am Ethiopian-born, grew up in America, who experienced the system and also experienced the immigration battle for over 8 years. So as a mother who struggled to survive my livelihood in America as an immigrant, I was so dangerous to this country that they were willing to divide me and my children. So there's many intersectional personal issues that the trauma still exists, right? Even though that my battles are over, the fact that our community is gathering because of issues like this today, they exist. If it wasn't me, if it wasn't Mark Cook or the people that came before us, if it's not my generation, it will be the generation after us, right? Because the system is not designed to help us. The system is not designed to make us prosper and equal, to survive, to thrive. That's not what it's made of. And you don't understand that until you're in the trenches. You don't understand the impacts until you are in the trenches, either in the prisons or in these schools, in these juvies, in these women prisons, or can't find a job because of these labels, or you can't thrive in this so-called free land. You don't understand that impact until you are in these trenches. And that's why this work is important. That's why we fight. That's why we struggle. That's why we continue on. That's why we create. And the solution comes from us. The solution comes from us, not them. I don't care how many meetings you sit in, how many policies and leaders you sit in and shake hands with. It comes from us. It comes from us. And don't you forget that. Our children and our community relies on our work. That's why these committees and that's why these activities or planning meetings or different, whatever you're passionate about. If you're passionate about working with children and juvies, it takes you, not them. If it's housing, it takes you, not them. It comes from here. And don't forget that struggle is real. And don't forget, the works is in your hand, not in them. Thank you.
Where did my co-host go? This is an example. I just want to. This is an example that it takes us and not them. King County, Dow Constantine went from talking about cages to kids to talking about zero youth detention because of the work that folks like Deedee started on the ground, right? Like, and that's why it's so important that we do cross solidarity work, that we understand intersectionality work, and how all of this stuff is tied, and how we acknowledge from the beginning that we are just a small cause in a bigger movement, right? And it's so important that we stand together against systems, because again, systems is not going to do it for us. We got to do it for us. Thank you, Deedee. Thank you so much. I think it's on. Okay. I think what we're going to do next is play the recordings from folks inside. As a part of this event, we had gracefully asked folks inside to do recordings of what they want to say. And please, and it's on your program as well. And please understand that communication and getting recordings from folks inside is often difficult, and there's some challenges behind it. And we sincerely apologize if folks, for access need, if folks can't hear what they're saying or understand what they're saying. But we could, with that being said, we can also transcribe what folks are saying inside and share it out with folks later, if that's necessary. But we want to make sure it's really, really important to us that, you know, that folks inside are being heard. That's the most important part. So with that being said, I think we're gonna play time.
I'd just like to say that ideally this event should have been inside one of the prisons, so you could hear these men for yourselves in person. But presently DOC don't want to let you guys in. And this is a community, they have a responsibility to you. But I want you to welcome these people. We put their pictures up because to symbolize that they're in this room with us.
Hey, this is Time. I'm True Keys, and I'm at Stafford Creek Correction Center. I've been incarcerated for about 16 years now, but I'm on my way. I'm on my way out. So I'm going to bring to you a spoken word. It's called A Reminder of Who I Am. A reminder of who I am. I am full of life, strength, love, hope, and determination. Here I am with a smile on my face that has survived the trials of time and persevered through the harsh conditions of isolation, like being stripped naked, left in a cell without even a roll of toilet paper to wipe my ass clean. No sheets or blankets in the cold of winter. Face burning from the mace, Officer Simpleton happily served with measures of hate peeking from the surface like the tip of the iceberg. They use their badges like ski masks when they beat you unconscious. And handcuffs eat at your wrist, bloody like raw meat at the butcher. These are my scars and reminders of a legacy under oppression. And in this call to action, I remind you, keep your perseverance in clear view. If you lose sight, you'll be lost along the path of no liberation. And look past the rations of chicken they serve to go with our chains of humiliation. This is for those who stand together in the struggle against a common foe, to challenge the status quo and honor the lives of those who breathe their last. See, I learned the facts of life through my family history and pain at the hands of the PDs and DOCs. A reminder of who I am. I am Uncle Benitez Sitthivong, killed in Spokane County Jail. I am rescue relative, shot and killed by officers in Texas. I am Clayton Joseph, nephew, shot and killed by officers in Vancouver, Washington. You won't suppress our voices because they live on through me. I stand here with my brothers in solidarity, defiantly tearing down the barriers to help each other grow. KhAAG plays a pivotal role and has been a long-time vessel in these spaces where we hold each other accountable to values like self-respect, self-love, and more. And to those who are free, understand the struggle is not over, but catch a breather and remember, I am because we are. To uplift the voices of those left behind and be an instrument of change because you truly want for me as you want for yourself. Thank you, y'all.
That was the homie time. I didn't know he was a poet until now. But that was pretty dope. He's speaking his truth, and we want to allow folks to speak their truths. The next person's recording that we got is Lavell Lewis. Did folks hear the recordings good enough? Was it good enough to be heard? Okay. Lavell Lewis is at Stafford Creek Correction Center.
Hello, my name is Lavell Lewis. I'm originally from Chicago, Illinois. I've been incarcerated for about 8 years here in the state of Washington. I currently got transferred from Clallam Bay to Stafford Creek. I was a part of the BPC there, and when I got here, it was shut down, so I wasn't able to really be a part of it here. The cultural awareness groups are very important, I believe, because it allows us to have a voice, and not just that. It allows us to have some type of some type of community. It's just like we're being censored in so many different ways that this is pretty much this institutional slavery. They're taking our voice from us. It's just a good thing that we have people in the community that are conscious and are helping us be and feel like normal people. That's important for us as prisoners being in here. A lot of the things I've experienced in here since I've been in prison, have at this geographical location, particular Washington, I've seen some unbelievable stuff. Mostly being oppressed by the system in so many different ways. As far as them taking our money, as far as us not being able to do certain things and working for slave wages. This alone shows that nothing has really changed. This is nothing but modern day slavery. One of the definitions for agency is a person or thing through which power is used or something is achieved. And there's so many levels to the agencies that they have working for them, or agents that they have working for them. It's more like what I would say, psychological warfare, where when you control a person's mind, you don't have to worry about what they're going to do because they're going to act according. But I'm glad with that we have voices, that are out there trying to help us, I stand in here, I'm wrongfully accused, of a crime that I didn't commit. But at the same time, I just got some relief from the Robbery 2 bill, or the law that just passed. I was given an extensive sentence, but at the same time, I'm not looking at a life sentence anymore. So, that's a blessing. I'm going to continue fighting, and, the fight continues, like I say, without people's voices from the outside, it's like we're not heard, us as prisoners are considered to have no agency, so that goes in connection, and that draws a nexus to why a lot of the system do the things that they do, when we don't have the support and we can't speak for ourselves, we're crippled, I believe that if we open a line of communication between prisoners and students of law, that can help change things, because we could breathe life into them to show them that if you're going into law and trying to change some things, this is what you're dealing with, and this is the ills that we suffer from, when laws aren't put in place to safeguard the things that people do. I believe that to affect DOC, you have to affect the bottom line, and which is their money. So by doing that, that can change the game. I appreciate you brothers and sisters out there advocating for us, and I wish you guys the best. And the fight continues, man. Peace and love, and thank you for allowing my voice to be heard.
Thank you, Lavell. Just a little bit more context. They give us our wages in there are 42 cents an hour. I don't know if it's changed since then. And the state of Washington requires to get paid $1 an hour, you got to work in correctional industries, and that's contracted through the state of Washington. And y'all probably heard of license plate plants and stuff like that. So maybe the furniture you're sitting on is made by folks inside. So think about that for a second in the prison industrial complex.
Real quick, man, are there a lot of families here that have family members in Stafford Creek? So anyways, Rose is going to be right up here. She has this Felix's wife, and she had a lot to do with this event too. But she has some gift cards for the vending machines, and so you guys are welcome to go up there. Everybody that has family at Stafford Creek, there's gift cards for your vending machines.
Thank you. Our next recording is from Jojo.
Where'd she go?
Yo, my name is Jojo. I'm from Democratic Republic of Congo. I've been down for 12 years and currently incarcerated at Stafford Creek Correction Center. I'm an organizer with Liberation Media Northwest, but I also organize with Cultural Collective, BPC, LDO, and API ChAAG. The purpose of my recording is to share the benefit I've gained through the Cultural Awareness Group. As many of you might know, or maybe might not know, I was sentenced to 66 years sentence. Due to my sentence, it has been impossible for me to program. In DOC, if you have more than 20 years, you're literally prohibited from programming or from getting any higher education. So the Cultural Awareness Group created programming has been very critical for me. To program like UBB, being able to take college courses, or just simple other programs such as domestic violence or intergenerational trauma courses, which would have been impossible without utilizing the Cultural Awareness Group programs. Many people benefit from this program while in prison because the department has actually been unable to meet their obligation, and the cultural groups has actually stepped in to fill those gaps. My ask for the community is to continue supporting these cultural groups. It is clear that we face a lot of challenges by the department, a lot of attacks, retaliations, and other oppressive tactics that they've used to try and bring us down. But with the help of the community and the support of the community, I think we can really make a difference in the life of those incarcerated. I ask that you all stand with us and continue this fight with us. Thank you.
Jojo's pretty dope.
This is Rose right here. I'm sorry, I made the announcement before she wasn't here. But again, that's Felix's wife. Could we give her a hand? And she has those gift cards for you.
He did. What? I got to go all the way to Stafford Creek to use the gift cards?
Yeah, he don't get nothing free today.
We're waiting for Russell Williams to call. He's supposed to call in next. He called before, but any second now he'll call back. And I think after Russell Williams speaks, I think we would love to invite the BPC group up here to speak. After he speaks, after he calls in, I think that'll be a dope position to have the BPC Community Group speak. What Jojo and Lavell was talking about, and what also Deedee and Mark was talking about, is creating programs for ourselves, creating our own liberation. And I think I want to lift up that the BPC group inside was able to create a program for themselves and for ourselves, the BPC Teach program, taking education and creating history. And I think I just want to lift that up and say that we weren't, a lot of us that were sent in as kids were sent in with a lot of dang time, and per DOC policy, we weren't allowed or able to take any educational programs, because to them we were disposable. Because to them we were disposable, and we weren't deserving of programming or to get higher educated per se. So with that being in mind, my brother like Kimani Carter, Willie Noble sat around a table and created a program for themselves, right? So I just want to honor that as we continue to talk about building shit for us and not them, and not waiting on them to build stuff for us. For like when we talk about liberation, DOC doesn't want to hear that, whether it's liberation through education or liberation through getting out of a cage. DOC does not want to hear that. So I think it's important that to also say that that program was able to be started because of community members like y'all, of community members out here supporting those things. We need sponsors every day. We need sponsors every day. We need volunteers. We need folks to show up to support those type of programs, because without the sponsors and community members out here, those type of programs don't happen. Still nothing from Russell. Do y'all want to go before Russell? He's supposed to go right now. Yeah? Give him a couple more minutes?
Yeah, wait for a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me see the mic. You gonna play a recording? There is a lot of recordings. I'm trying to keep it moving, man. Can you turn your volume up?
Can we turn up the volume? Can you hear us? Yeah. Can you talk again? No. Okay. Okay, can you try again?
Hello?
Okay,
Everybody here?
we can't hear you.
Okay. Quick disclaimer, as a Tom engineer, I've been less and less confident in my ability to be Thomas friends, so I started writing myself a few notes, and I didn't stop typing, so at times it sounds like I'm reading this. My name is Russel Williams, and I am an unapologetically proud representative of the Black Prisoners Caucus. First and foremost, I want to express my sincerest appreciation for y'all coming out to support the cultural labor. Simply put, there is no work that we do that would be possible without community contribution. That being said, I want to take a moment to talk about purpose. What does that word purpose mean to you? Is the reason why you're here today? Or do you associate purpose with the qualities from here? Or do you think of purpose as your raison d'etre, the reason that you live and breathe? You know, it's a humbling thought to know that I may never have discovered my purpose had I never came to prison. The irony that I, in essence, found myself in prison, and only after I found myself in prison is a loss for me. Think about that for a second. Were it not for the confluence of circumstances that subsequently resulted in you receiving 43-year sentence at the age of 21, I may have never met Orlando Lanes to invite me to my first Black Prisoners Caucus meeting back in 2001. I'm not throwing out these numbers because I'm trying to split me kind of set me. I didn't grow up in a house where consequences were a result of my actions. I'm just saying that my mind frame at the time wasn't on positivity. Fortunately, being surrounded by so many positive brothers allowed me to see my feelings through completely different lenses. No longer was I more concerned or understanding my peers for all the wrong reasons than I was with whether or not I was going down in prison cell. I'm getting looking constructive ways that I can actually use my time instead of idle doing time. Shout out to Ejonga. I realized I had to get my maturation process happen overnight. If you go to the church, you might say there were times when backsliding was my favorite recreational activity. But eventually I got right. I realized that to educational opportunities. It's hard to be involved in nonsense when you have an exam to take for a research work executive. So I know firsthand how impactful programs like BPC can be. Shout out to my Toure and the folks at the Accredited Teachers Referral. If you haven't already seen or seen something down, please get familiar. It was actually teach that I learned to be an organizer, albeit a disorganized organizer at times. And with through teach that I learned to be an educator, and perhaps most importantly, learn how to lead. I'm going to try not to dislocate my shoulder and pat myself in the back. However, teachers did amazing work. We literally arrived from the pandemic, and before that, we were doing 13 classes every weekend. And all that stopped with one student called Taylor, who had been appointed to DOC to push her own self-serving agenda. Ironically, in the name of equity, diversity, and inclusion. But anybody that knows Taylor knows that she's a colonizer in the true sense of the word. And I'm not even talking about her whiteness. I wouldn't say it's irrelevant, but it's not nearly as important as you ask my way about the one who makes Christ. You know, it is different when your purpose is your passion and you have that taken away. I think that the best way that I could describe it before that I felt at that phone call was found at the stage of grief. I don't know if it was anger or denial that hit me first, because the thoughts that crossed my mind were, she can't be serious and she must be out of her mind. Later came regarding it, you know, so I asking myself, what do we do to deserve this? And what can I do to get that what was taken from us? And I admitted that there were times when I was depressed, not in clinical sense, just kind of down, like wondering what I'm going to do with myself now that this was taken away from me. I've never been to acceptance because I refuse to accept that this is it, like this is just happening. So right now I'm still just angry, if I'm being completely honest, and you know, so I hope that somebody can do something about what I'm telling you. Last element, that is the purpose. What is your purpose? What goals do you have? What can you do to achieve those goals? And then perhaps you all in that at your home, take 2 minutes to talk to each other, to network, find out if anybody else has similar goals. Perhaps in the vein of work and responsibility, y'all can all do some ego-free organizing and achieve those goals together. Thank you.
That's my brother. That's Don Taylor. Don Taylor's a mess, but I also want to say that if DOC is probably listening this and watching, and I just want to say out loud that we're only doing something good for our community. That's it. We're not trying to cause nobody no harm. We're trying to just do something good for our community, just in case DOC is listening. And folks inside are going to get punished or reprimanded for speaking out against DOC. Again, DOC, we are only doing something good for our community. With that being said, I want to call up this group of men, community members, friends, homies, that I started organizing with when I started inside. So please welcome up the Black Prisoners Caucus Community Group.
Come on. You know, what's up, community? You know, what's up, community? You know what I mean? So, you know, first and foremost, man, I just want to, you know what I mean, really just, you know what I mean, give thanks to all of the community members who showed up. You know what I mean? Definitely, I want to be able to, man, give a round of applause for my brothers on the inside who organized this wonderful group. So please give them brothers on the inside a round of applause. Sisters in the building. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? So, you know what I mean? We are the Black Prisoners Caucus Community Group. You know what I mean? What that means is that we're an additional chapter of the BPC because we're free, right? I was sentenced in 1997 to an aggravated murder that gave me a life sentence. And it was because of our organizing on the inside that provided me with an opportunity to have the community stand up for me, man. As a way of basically saying is that we're ready for him to come back to the community because we've seen the work that he done. That's not just my story. That's all of our story. We're basically saying is that when we was locked up and thrown away, the Department of Corrections wasn't giving us shit, to be clear. We had to come together in order for us to be able to create our own opportunities because they wasn't giving it to us. And put simply, they was basically letting us know that because of our sentence, the state of Washington wasn't willing to provide any support or resources for us to get better. They wasn't giving us an opportunity to go to school. Basically, once you got your GED, you was confined to work. That was it. And what we was able to do under the BPC is that we was able to continue to come together in order for us to be able to resolve our own trauma. Folks in the community are suffering, y'all. And when you're unable to resolve your issues in a pretty constructive way, they come out violently. So that's what I went to prison for a violent offense, along with everybody else up here. We're not the low-hanging fruit. But the thing is that once we found each other through culture, through our BPC community group, through our BPC culture group, we was able to realize is that at the end of the day, wasn't nobody going to help us better than us. So we stopped looking outside of our circle for help. We stopped looking to DOC. We stopped asking. We began to organize on the inside. And so along with the Black Prisoners Caucus, the API-CAG also began to organize. The NGC also began to organize. And so what we began to have is on the inside, we was able to maintain opportunities for people who were locked out to get educated for free. Guys was able to obtain college level degrees through the work that we was able to organize and construct through contracts that we had with Seattle Central and other colleges around. We had to do that ourselves. And so now when we started to have opportunities for judges now to be able to have a look at our portfolio and the things that we was able to do, it wasn't because the Department of Corrections put a plan together for me in order for me to become healed. How about y'all?
No. No.
And so at the end of the day, when we found ourselves in front of a judge who ultimately looked at our body of work, the judge was able to determine that we no longer pose a threat to society. That was because of the work that we did through our culture group, y'all. And so basically what we're trying to say is they've been on the sideline this entire time watching progress happen. And so now they want to take it away from us. We need community to be able to stand up and email. Everybody got a line. Where's the Zion at? Let me see this. Sorry, my God. Let me help. In the back of this Zion, it says, use your voice. How many people got a copy of this? Please raise your hand if you do. If you do not, go get you one. In here, you have all of the people who are a part of the Department of Corrections administrative team. If you also notice, it's not a black or a brown face on there. There ain't no faces here, but you can Google them. Their names will pop up. But what I'm telling you is that this is the group of folks who are ultimately coming together to determine and to tell us all how culture groups are supposed to perform and how they should be operating on the inside. They're white folks are essentially telling black and brown folks how culture is supposed to go. We need y'all, community. And one of the things that we don't want you just to send an email. We want you to be able to gather up more people in your community in order to send an email to the Department of Corrections to let them know that this isn't something that the community supports. We got to ride with the fellas on the inside, y'all, because they're doing their own work. We sent them to prison because we felt that they should be held accountable for their actions, and they are being held accountable. And so now what we're basically telling the Department of Corrections is don't interfere with the work that they feel is important for their own personal growth. That's the culture groups. That's the classes that are prisoner-led, because those are the things that ultimately have their best interests at heart. And so the brothers on the inside have called us today in order for us to be able to advocate on their behalf. And as the Black Prisoners Caucus Community Group, our first tenet is to amplify the voices of those on the inside. I'm going to repeat that. Our first priority is to amplify the voices on the inside. We're here to get more people free, y'all. And we're asking y'all to stand in with us in solidarity with the folks on the inside in order for us to be able to bring more people home. But the way for us to do that is we have to preserve the things that they created, and that's the culture groups on the inside. You know what I mean? So if y'all are willing to be able to stand in solidarity with the folks on the inside, give me a round of applause for the work that they've done on the inside. You know? Right. Marie, you know what I mean? Representing for the women. Deedee did a wonderful job, but this is one of our sisters, y'all.
How y'all doing?
So we making sure that we keep our, our movement balanced. You know what I mean? So we definitely got to make sure that the women is involved. But this is one thing. This is community. This is what community looks like. You know what I mean? We want to make sure that we holding it up. So you know what I mean? Come on, where you been at?
Yeah, where you
finished
at?
eating? You finished eating?
I'm in community. I think that it would be amiss not to mention and center the voices of the women at WCCW. We had to fight for everything. We had to fight for clothing that fit our bodies because they believe that the face of incarceration is male only. We had to fight for legislators and judges and prosecutors to come on the inside and recognize that there's thousands of years of incarceration with women that look like us. I spent almost 21 years in prison, and it wasn't until we had our voices centered that someone recognized that there had to be something done, that there could be second chances for those of us who bear the children, right? Those of us who keep families together. It wasn't until 2018 that there was a BPC at WCCW, and we had to fight for that. We had to fight for education in the women's prison, because they didn't believe that women who had sentences, long sentences, should be educated, that they should only hold a 42-cent an hour job and just be a porter, a caretaker, right? The fight continues, and it does take community. Then we have to center those voices that are still on the inside, and we have to fight for our women to come home as well. So I just thank you for this moment.
I think what's really important, and I'm glad that the brother introduced me. My name is Marie Wiley. I'm an active member of the Black Prisoners Caucus Community Group. I've been affected by the system since I was a child. I've done a cumulative sentence of 16 years, from juvenile to adult. But we're here gathered today for the brothers, right? And I love that, and I'm going to stand in support and solidarity with them. But like the sister said, it's too many times that the sisters are not getting brought to the forefront because lack of resources, because lack of contact, because lack of support. See, it's bad enough when you already take the men away, right? Because then everything falls on the Black woman. But then when you take the Black woman away, who's there for her when she's been there for everybody else? So these are the things that we need to recognize and keep at the forefront of our mind. I personally believe when we start to center the Black woman, then everything else will fall into place. I appreciate you guys for coming out here today to support the brothers. And I'm here to support them. Pick up your vine, gather your people. Even if people act like they don't want to do it, grab their phones from them. Just take me to your email. You don't want to do it, I'll do it for you. Because sometimes that's what it takes. We've become lazy. We've become lazy and complacent. And this is not a one-day thing. This is something that if your soul is moved, you need to become a part of it. Because if it affects us, it affects you guys too. We are one people. If we're not being treated fairly and we're wiped off, you don't think you guys will be next? We have to expand our mind on these things. I'm going to leave you guys with that. I appreciate every single one of your souls. Thank you.
First and foremost, I just want to thank everybody for coming out, because this community support is real. Had it not been for community support, my trajectory would have looked a little bit different. It took 3 strong Black women that walked into the Black Prisoners Caucus to let me know that I was needed in the community. And that was Mary Flowers, Janet Preston, Dr. Marsha Taylor-Runga, and the other sister here is Deedee. You know, so we didn't just show up one day. We showed up because we needed to be here. And this is where we belong. It's community. Community is what moves this thing. Community is going to move the needle. And until we all see what we can bring to the table and how strong we can be together as 2 fists versus just single hands. Let's continue to work together. Let's continue to build together. Building a positive community. That's what we're doing right now. This is what our positive community looks like, because it looks like all of us in this room. And those outside of this room that did make it to this space today, and we got to give them a voice and let them know this is what we're doing. This is how we're moving. Get in line, fall in line, let's go, let's do, let's get it.
I think they got a timeline, so we want to, you got, go.
All right, peace everybody. Peace everybody.
Peace.
Come on, let's get some energy up in here. Peace, everybody. I literally wouldn't be here today without community. I literally wouldn't be here standing here today, like at this very moment. I'll still be serving, going into my 19th or 20th year on a 30-year sentence. Just to keep it brief, you know, all my brothers and my sisters that stand up here, we were incarcerated at a very young age. And we were incarcerated and pulled out of social and economic circumstances that wasn't fit for young people. And there was decisions that unfortunately we may have made or things that were going on with our parents and our community that the government's response was to massively incarcerate us. And we all stand here today, literally almost all of us. I mean, raise your hand if you didn't get your sentence reduced when you got released. If you didn't get your sentence reduced. Didn't. What I'm saying is, he had life. He had life. I had 30 years. He had life. He had life. He had 30 years. He had 22 years. He had 30 years. We all did about 20 years, 25 years. And if it wasn't for us growing up together and culturally understanding that we shared the same similar background, if it wasn't for the loved ones who had the capacity to reach into us and pour love into us and understand that we was of value and we had purpose to our community even in there to get out, if it wasn't for our community who showed up to whatever type of hearing that we was able to get some type of avenue for release to get out of these life sentences, we wouldn't be here. You see, we wouldn't be here without community. And we want y'all to understand, for anybody's loved one who's in there, we're trying to rally around to get your particular loved one out, our brothers and sisters out. And we stand here today confidently. I stand here confidently knowing that the work that we do and how we stand up and how we speak truth to power and challenge these systems that are inequitable, because that's what we did when we was in the inside. We grew up. Those of us who came before us and navigated and somehow survived, mentored us to be better individuals just for ourselves, for our families, for our communities. We found a voice to take leadership to build a positive community because we came from communities that were being destroyed. We're coming from communities that are continuing to be destroyed by the system and state violence. And so we built this capacity out of love and care from the community. We're only here because of the community. And being that we're here and we've been able to build some resilience to survive and stand here and speak and seek to lead, we seek to galvanize us so we can get more of our brothers and sisters out of these cages. And while they're in these cages, support them to be resilient and navigate and survive the system. I'm emotional about this right now because I just got out about 13 months ago. And I was in there during COVID. And they literally, the conditions of these institutions and these prisons and these cages of where our brothers and sisters are in now is dramatically detrimental to their mental health, to their psychological health. The diet's bad. They don't let them go out and get fresh air. These situations now are way more dire relative to even before. And so I come here like to not take lightly about what we're standing here and what we're striving to do. And I stand here optimistic because I know that what we've already done with our voices, like this is extraordinary efforts to get those of us from our community with life sentences home. And it was no credit to the system. Again, we were given those sentences. It took community to stand up and say that we're human beings, that we were value, that we provide value to the community, that we provide value to each other while we were on the inside. You know, they didn't teach us, like when we got judgment and sentences, it just said, do your time. It took us to engage with staff. It took us to say, hey, we want to get more education. We need more education. We'll teach ourselves. Hey, we want to mentor each other. Hey, we want to be positive and teach compassionate communication and nonviolence for us to better ourselves. We want to learn how to be parents. We want to learn how to do all the things that we need to be of value to our community. And so we stand here today to let y'all know there's hope. We stand here today to let y'all know that what we're striving to do and what we plan to do with engaging with the Department of Corrections, for them to recognize our identities, recognizing that us as individuals and as a community recognize the needs that we need for us to be our best selves, we stand here today confident that that's going to be possible. And so I thank you all. I thank you all for showing up. And again, I encourage you all to just galvanize around the individuals that you know that are impacted by incarceration. Build and strengthen the relationship for individuals who are formerly incarcerated and doing the work, and ask, what can you do to just simply support it? And I promise you, more of us will be standing here. Year after year, more of us will be standing here. And so I thank you all.
All power to all people.
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 You know, we're up here as the BPC CG, and we stand firmly in cross-cultural solidarity. Like, we know who we are, but we also know that there's power in our organizing when we come together collectively. You know, I remember the fact that, well, first and foremost, you know, today, you know, like many of my other brothers, like, we're just getting home recently, right? Today marks my 8th month home, right? I know yesterday, yesterday, you know, the year mark, you know, for my brother too, right? And so we were just in Stafford Creek, just inside these carceral systems, fighting for the things that the brothers are fighting for still. So this issue, this fight is not new to us. Like, we were on the front lines with them. But one thing I know for sure is that we cannot depend on the oppressor to advocate for our liberation. It will never happen. We have to understand the mechanisms that are being used to not only divide us as community and individuals, but from our collective organizing, the power that we have when we come into spaces like this together. You know, think about the person to your left and to your right, and the work that they're a part of, the network that they have, and when we come together, what we can do. Every person in here represents a network, you know, a universe of our own realm in which we could affect change. And so we have to commit to doing that, using our resources to advocate for those who are not necessarily in position to have the frontline access as we do. I was surprised when I came home and had my smartphone and all the things I had access to, right? Some good, some bad, right? But the reality is, right, the reality is I had access, and I had to choose, I had to advocate, I had to recognize my own agency. And so us in community, we have to recognize our access, our own agency, and what we want to do with it. I see everybody holding up phones and taking recordings. Well, let's use those same phones to call the people on the back of the Zine. Let's make sure we're using our voice, understanding that those who are still inside are those who we need to bring home. You know, like my brother Blaze said, you know, we came home through resentencings, and community came out in support. Community came out in droves. But we have to make sure that we're not only just showing up in the darkest hours, we got to show up with each other in the light. In every circumstance, show up arm in arm for community and with community. But today, here, right now, we're advocating for these cultural policies and issues that our cultural groups are facing as they're being dismantled and shut down inside of Washington Department of Corrections. And we have to ask ourselves why. Why is it that they want to intentionally dismantle the work that's going on? What does it serve the Department of Corrections in order to do just that? It's not in the interest of liberation. It's not in the interest of empowerment. It's not in the interest of education. What is it for? You see, as long as we don't have spaces like this, we begin to cultivate and perpetuate the same cycles of violence amongst ourselves and within the system that justifies the means of the system. But we have to understand that our liberation is within ourselves, within our beings, and within our cultural groups and how we show up with and for one another. And so now, as we're showing up here as a community, as we're showing up here as a BPC, API, KhAAG, NGC, LDO, and all the other cultural groups that are represented here, understand that we're calling on you as community to show up. We've done decades of time. We've been fighting on the front lines, but we have to make sure that we're fighting in solidarity with community as well. And so I appreciate the phones, I appreciate the pictures, I appreciate the photo ops. But if you ain't willing to do the work, we don't need you here. Yeah, if you ain't willing to do the work, we don't need you here.
Thank you.
All right, it's funny the fanfare that we receive coming out of prison. but not everybody's willing to do the work with us. Right? I don't need the pats on my back. I don't need the celebration of the almost 20 years I did incarcerated. I know what I did. I know what I walked off. We know what we walked off. But now we're out here on the front lines fighting for our brothers who are still inside, fighting for the liberation of all people. And we want to call on you to join this fight with us. Thank you.
Everybody good? Hold up. Hey, talking about phones, real quick, could somebody snap a picture of what collective liberation could look like of these folks right here? Get together, move in real close. This is what collective liberation could look like. Eugene just got here? You're good. No, we're not waiting on Eugene. The program's got to go. This is what collective liberation could look like, y'all. It takes a community. Yeah? Let's thank these fine folks for coming up here and speaking their truths. Thank you, y'all. Thank you.
Sit back down, bro.
For folks that just got here, I want to first and foremost say thank you to the folks that brought food or prepared food. I think in organizing, there's a lot of hidden work that doesn't get acknowledged, and I want to at least say that there's a lot of folks that brought food. There's a lot of folks that got food together, and also you're free to go up to the table to get food or drinks at any time. We done moved past that stage of the program where it's a food break. I think from this point we're gonna just play more recordings, so listen intently and listen carefully. Yeah? Is everybody still good? Is everybody still with us? Snap your fingers, you're still with us. Yeah? Could we play the next recording?
Hi, my name is Francisco Chow. I am from Tacoma, Washington, and I've been incarcerated going on my 16th year. I'm currently at Stafford Creek Correction Center, and the organization that I'm representing is the Asian Pacific Islander Cultural Awareness Group. I am currently the vice president of the API-KhAAG, serving as a vice president right now. And so basically I kind of want to speak about and kind of let everybody know what API-KhAAG has contributed to my life. I started this work back in 2012 when I first was introduced to it at Column Bay by some of the members, and I really didn't know what the group was about until I was actually appointed a position of the treasurer. And so now I actually am beginning and starting to see the power and the movement behind what we've trying to accomplish behind bars. And it made me open up a really big part of my life, and it's made me grow and develop as a man. It's given me the opportunity to kind of look at things from a different lens, and just not really conform into what society wants us to be, and just be different, be original, and to really give back to my community. And that's one of the biggest things is to give back to my community and really help support the brothers that are involved in the work with us. And so when I seen the work that we were actually contributing to a lot of the brothers, like brothers that were going to INS and immigration, and it's a stressful situation when you have these brothers that go into the predicament and have to rely on the system to kind of give them freedom and to kind of give them out. And I've seen the power of writing a support letter or getting community organizers to go to these guys' court hearings and stuff like that. And I've seen the power of this a component helping these brothers out. Some of the obstacles that I've faced being involved in the group is obviously obstacles of having to deal with the powers that are ahead of us, administration, a lot of these little sponsors or volunteers that try to micromanage our group and stuff like that. And even though we try to continue to optimize and autonomize our group, it's still controlled by the tentacles of the Department of Corrections. And so those are some things that I faced being involved in the work. A while back in I think 2016, I was there was an independent API-KhAAG group here, and so I was kind of involved in the diversity group here, and so we were preparing for the API banquet through diversity, and we had to write a speech about our culture, and I had submitted my speech and handed it to the person that was in charge and sponsoring the group, and the person had immediately told me, you can't write this. So censorship was involved in this meeting, and I wasn't okay with it, right? And so I wanted to talk about the Khmer rules because I'm a Cambodian man, and so that's a big part of my history. That's a big part of my culture. And so the lady said, no, you can't talk about this. Let's talk about your songs, and let's talk about your dances and stuff like that. And right there, I realized like I'm not going to be censored when it comes to my culture and my people. So that kind of gave me the opportunity and the power to kind of look at things from a different perspective and look at my culture and look at education, look at discrimination, biases, anything that you could think of when it comes to discrimination. And so that just right there is just not cool, basically, right? And so that gives me another outlook on the powers that are trying to control independent groups. And so the importance of having cultural groups. I think that it's very important to have cultural groups within Washington State prisons or just facilities in general. Period. It gives a lot of brothers that come through and a lot of guys that do not know their culture, and it raises awareness to them to kind of like seek that and move forward and really know themselves, because when you know yourself, you know your history, you know yourself. And I think that's really powerful for a lot of people, because it gives you confidence, and it gives you the power to kind of like educate yourself and continue to move forward. I also think that it's very important for a lot of the younger brothers that are coming in that are mixed, and they identify with one race and not identify with the other. And that's kind of like our role in here as a leadership role, to kind of like bring those brothers in and educate them and show them, how important it is and how beautiful their culture is. And even that, we make it to look back into their family tree, the history of their people, the history of lots of that, and it gives them a better outlook on life in general. So since I've been involved with API-KhAAG, man, like I really have a lot of mentors that guided me, that give me direction, and I've grown as a man, as a Cambodian API brother in here, and I've been able to use my platform and use my leadership to continue to raise that awareness and help brothers that need help in here. And and the power of and the greatest thing is seeing the community supporting us. Right? Like before I got involved in the work, man, I didn't think that anybody really cared about us out there in the community. And to see a lot of the community organizers come together and really help us organize as far as our workshops, educational programs, events, or even just having a little big discussion about whatever important topic is going on in the world at the moment. And so that right there is powerful. I also want to add that since I've been involved in the API-KhAAG, I've seen the networking with other groups as far as the other races. we all fight the same struggle. We all fight the same cause, right? And so, like, just seeing all these other brothers come together and really fight for the rights of of the BIPOC community is it's amazing to me. And because I come from the streets, man, and so I've never really seen somebody that's a black or somebody that's a native or somebody that's a different race want to help each other. When I see that, it's like it's profound. So with that being said, I continue to keep working the work that I work because I strive to help my community, pay back my community, and be a leader upon me coming home and continue my work.
That was my brother Francisco. For folks, do we need a break? Could we do like a 5-minute break? I want to be intentional about folks hearing folks' messages. Yeah? Hey, I just want to first, before everybody starts to leave and or try to head out, this is the call to action. FYI, the homie said it's prisoners' demands, but we called it call to action. And is everybody able to read this? Do I have to read it out loud? Okay, I'll read it out loud. Call to action number 1. Administration, meaning Don Taylor, Lisa Flynn, and all the heads of DOC in the Olympia headquarters, that's on the back of your zines, to work with cultural groups to resume all group activities, meetings, and functions, and allow sponsors access to facilities. Currently, right now, they're not letting any sponsors in due to this new culture policy. So just to let you know that. Call to action number 2, include cultural groups in meetings and consider our suggestions for the new cultural policy in an accountable manner. Give our community and families access and more transparency in this policy-making process in a respectful manner. Call to action number 3, protections against group suspensions and or termination for perceived conflicting political views, advocacy work, etc. Administration should not just be empowered or shut us down arbitrarily. You can't say the word abolition in prison. You can't say the word liberation in prison. I think there's a lot of folks that try to send in books inside and they ban them books just because of that. I think Sella has something to say real quick before we move on. Okay.
Sorry. Okay. Hey everybody, thank you all for showing up. I just wanted to make a quick announcement. It came to our attention that some of the folks that are here are families of folks that are inside, or if you were recently released and you are in need of reentry support, please find one of us or speak to Andy, Oloth, David, Hepard. There is a lot of support for folks that are coming home. So if you guys don't know about it, please tap in with us because we want to make sure you guys aren't going back in. It broke my heart when one of the brothers that I spoke to this afternoon said that it seems easier to go back. We're not trying to see y'all go back. You are home, and there's community, and there is support. So please, tap in with one of us. There's housing support, there's resources. There's so many things. If you're a family and you guys have somebody inside and you guys just have questions, please ask us. We also are a family that have folks inside. And the folks that came home, we want to welcome them and we want to welcome you as well. So please, anybody that you see that's at the front table or up here, you see us walking around, please tap us. If we could be of support to somebody you know, let us know, connect us, because we want to make sure you guys stay home and that you guys are getting the support that you guys need, okay? So that's all I had to say. Thank you so much. I'll give it back to O.
Thank you, Sella. Thank you for that reminder. There is a lot of resource here. Jared's on the phone. Sina, we're going to go with Jarrod first because he's on the phone right now. Is that okay?
Is that good? Is it good? All right. Okay, you can share. Isn't good.
All right, man. First and foremost, I would like to thank everybody for the time to get together, Take a lot of time and effort and sacrifice to put something like this together for our community to show up today. So, let's give a round of applause to everybody. Help make that happen, please. Something that I want to share with you guys that motivates me to do the work that I do for my comrades is, the system isn't broken. It's functioning exactly how it was designed. My name is Jarrod. I'm a representative of Nuestro Grupo Cultural. And I want to tell you a little bit about the work that we do on the inside, collaborating with the BPC, KhAAG. A lot of work that we stand out our focus on is cultural education, awareness, re-entry, building bridges with the community, and just overall improving on the quality of life on the inside. Cultural groups like this across the state are under the threat of becoming a disunion. And it's allowed all the decades of work we've done will be sadly lost. And a lot of you guys in that crowd know what that feeling is like. The people are living, breathing, and walking examples of what culture is to us are being co-opted by racist administrators like Don Taylor. Our goal is to implement a statewide diversity program that will eradicate autonomous cultures like us. Their attempts to replicate our work will not only fail miserably, but do it in service like underfunded government clinics in our poor neighborhoods. And a lot of you guys have been to those types of clinics, you know what I'm talking about. Services and needs will be met where straw hurt the man. And when a person with so much power and oversight is left to operate on their terms, nothing but damage and destruction is left behind. And what y'all support will stop the power. So by having and allowing diversity programs to consolidate our cultures, we recognize genuine opportunities to organize, to educate, and to embody culture on our terms. The work we do also reaches beyond that. Our concern is focused on an event once a year. It's about cultivating real change in people's lives. If we get to the face of such an important societal crisis for the system, then we're looking at today. You would think that the love, support, and community we have built together will be something to honor. Instead, we're being pushed to margin of label helps for gang activities. Security clearance, SPG. Keep this terminology embedded in your memories. When a person is sent to the reception prison, they are screened and asking serious questions. Some of those questions deal with mental health, diet, your overall experience in life, drug addictions. But in that line of questioning, the ones that are always asked are those these two together. What is your race or ethnicity? What follows is a crucially important question. What gang or club you from? Now I want you to sink in for a few seconds and let's reflect on that. How you answer these two questions will always be given mentioned while incarcerated. This is how racism, classism, and future harassment unfolds for people of color on the inside. NPC is recognized for the work we do, and we are considered positive influences because of our associations. As a matter of fact, we have been discredited, denied equal access to meeting spaces, and opportunities to organize because of the work we wish to continue to do. So we advocate for equal access to employment, vocation, and education for Hispanic-speaking people. To bring more awareness on policies and practices that hurt our people. To overcome the non-existent language services. Most importantly, to deal with all you guys on the inside and out. We're the true contribution of people of America who this land belongs to and have every right just as much as the next person. I want to appreciate honest like Montana. To be denied based on being an ethnicity and the affiliations they've used against us speaks to the fear that those on top share amongst themselves. Our work is sincerely transformative and life-changing. My close bond with my ACI, KhAAG, and BPC brothers is a testament to our collective work. As a community member, are you okay with DOC demonizing people for being proud of their ACI heritage? Or that Black empowerment is considered a threat to people? How about asking for translation services from Spanish to English or vice versa? These peer-to-peer interactions we bring to our populations have never been provided by the system to people of color. This shit is personal, and it fuels my fire. I intend to make it clear that despite what's a part of this program, we don't see the fleeing people like Dontaylor are colonizing racist liars. Our resistance is rooted in the work we do and will continue to do. And I know for those of you in the crowd who have felt what I felt when your pride in who you are is twisted and used as a way to demean your humanity. You feel crushed by the weight of despair and vulnerability. You ask yourself, what do I do next, you know? The answer is simple for some of us to reach out. Yeah, what if that very crushed weight doesn't want my hand to a helping hand? That's the clear thing that's happening right now as we speak. And many others are trying to get rid of peer-to-peer groups. Bounce our cultural roots into a volunteer policy that will result into us having a couple years of existence. But the shadiness don't stop there. Non-tailored co-op queen, DOC, is in charge of reviewing all proposals. This is important to know because cultural groups will require to submit our work for review and to deny at her discretion. Nothing from reviewing the work we put into a program proposal, then deny the proposal offered through DOC. This is the ultimate gatekeeping tactic in stealing programs from prisoners. Imagine the financial benefits that Dontaylor can gain from this. After all, we're the felons, right? We're criminals locked away, so what do we to say? These are the forces that NGC, BPC, NCI, KhAAG have been against for some time now. They use our cultures as a weapon to deny us the ability to help others, but we all know they purposely fall short. Another egregious example is our community support was told by local administrators that there already existed a Hispanic group with no governing body or sponsors to connect us to prove it. That they had FPG concerns, but failed to elaborate and explain what those concerns were. When up against a draconian tactic and locked away like an animal, and when you treat it like one, we're left with our basic survival instincts. Some of us fall, and some of us grow. But us as a collective group, we take on the responsibility to ensure others don't fall. We scratch the claw for everyone's right to freedom. These forces who stand in the way of life-changing organizing can only try to control us. DOC's fall claims that they encourage and support our culture groups, our lives, and smoke screens. We have been profiled and targeted. Our greatest chance is speaking out against the oppressive people that hide behind smiles and snake skins. We have respectfully exhausted every chance to have our voices heard and a seat at the table. Now we demand accountability, and you as our community should too. I'm calling for the removal of people like Dontaylor because she has disrespected our community and us in the same breath. DOC has placed persons who oppose equity, diversity, and inclusion in a position that requires empathy, compassion, and understanding. How are we supposed to trust someone who steals others' work? There is so much on the line here, and at the end of this event, you will know how we can come together. But I stress and I urge that you guys support us. However, our work doesn't end today or tomorrow. It's imperative to continue to stay connected and make our presence felt on a consistent basis so that the mere thought of something like this can no longer undermine the work we do together. As an NGC representative, we need your help and I ask for your support. Community is the essential piece to our success, based on a common bond to bring back what it feels like to be human once again. The stakes are high and we're all in. And I ask you to stand with us to show our pressures that we're not alone in this fight. People quality life, handing it down, and we do nothing. If you have any questions on how you can support beyond this event, feel free to contact myself on securities or connect with our outside NGC representatives making a rose. And I really appreciate you guys taking the time to hear me out. Thank you.
Thank you, Jarrod. Hey, Jarrod, thank you. So I just want to, real quick, tell you about what Jarrod really needs right now. But before I do that, Neil's back here for Liberation Media, who is a big part of making all of this presentation possible today by making all of these recordings and making sure that, you know, all the graphics that you're looking at was done today. So this will be on film sometime later, and it'll be on Liberation Media, so please check it out. But what these guys are saying to you today, you're the reason that we're here today. And they're screaming out for help because DOC is like trying to stop it down. And you can hear that these guys have made the only real substantial reentry move. You see these people that just came home after 20 years of oppression. He's done 23 years. And we're the only last hope that these guys have. And without community, they have no voice. DOC will sit down there and tell you a lie with a smiling face. Oh, we have a cultural diversity committee that addresses that. But what that cultural diversity does, it takes away these cultural groups because they can do one little eat cake a year, one day a year, and that's it. But these guys are making viable re-entry plans. They're building relationships. I have some cards here. I work for the Freedom Project, and that's what we do. We receive these guys. The organization that I work for, Fight, we receive these people that need this type of help to make sure they do get on their feet. So I just want to reinforce the fact that we need you, the community support. If you want to get involved in this fight, there's a sign-up sheet over there, and I'll be happy to tell you more on what you could do on, I know that Fight desperately needs, you know, more capacity to serve these guys in here, and that's what we do. And this is what this is all about, is answering their cries for help, because they just want to become human beings. They want to repair some of the community, some of the stuff that they destroyed before they were woke, you know, and so now it's our turn to help them. You know, I spent 20 years in prison, and I battled with DOC for over 2 years to get the API-KhAAG started. But I never dreamed it would come to this, what these guys are done, and to take this away from him, from all of the people that you've been hearing today, it would be a tragedy. And so I'm just going to ask all of you guys, please get involved. In the zines, there's a call to action, and they need you to call DOC, write emails, and flood Cheryl Strange and tell her, why would you take away the only viable reentry programs that are being created, and they're being created by the prisoners involved that are being oppressed. You hear that common theme from all of them, that they're being quieted and they're being oppressed. They get censored, those diversity little banquets that they have one year because of a person. Well, I'll let them tell you. There's recordings that will explain that to you. So I want you to hear it from them first place. Thank you. Do we have another recording?
Hey, we did the last recording of Francisco Sao, and he was talking about immigration and deportation issues with the INS. And with that being said, I would love to invite the KhAAG folks up here to speak real quick. Yeah. Okay. Sina. I think as we continue to talk about intersectionality work, I think it's important to provide that context when it comes to deportation issues and how the U.S. creates borders which creates prisons and cages. Yeah, something like that.
All right. Thank you, Oloth, for the welcome. I'm Sina. I'm with the KhAAG Anti-Deportation Advocacy Group. Hello. I know energy is low, so we're going to start out. If Buntai and Savannah can come join me at some point, I'd really appreciate it. If not, it's okay. So in this room, we have a lot of folks, and we know this is about prison reform and abolition work. We want to do the reform work to support our communities and leaders on the inside who need programming. And when programming and a way for us to support and stay connected with families, it's about family separation and communities being disconnected from support and resources which they need to be successful to be able to re-entry into our communities and families which they've been away from for so long. So I'm Sina, I'm a co-founder, and Buntai is as well, so I just want him to introduce himself quickly.
Hey everybody, how y'all feeling? You want me to talk about the thing?
Savannah, I see you.
Okay.
Come, Savannah, come. And so for our work, what is most important for us when we came together is that we know there is a pipeline for all the leaders who spoke before us and all the communities who have been impacted by over-policing, by policies, the war on drugs, which has gone on for decades, that affects our communities who's on the inside, and disproportionately so. And so that's why these programs are so important. So I mentioned an energizer. We're organizers, and so many before us. The Black Caucus knows this, the Chicano, Latino, Hispanic organizers know this, the indigenous leaders, Native leaders know this. When we come together and we have to fight for programs, we have to fight for just surviving, a system that is for so long has been targeting or disproportionately keeping us in cycles of poverty and violence upon us. We know when we come together, it's through protests, and they're not violent. We have this history of solidarity with each other. And so when there is divisiveness happening, like when there's Asian folks don't like that group, or the Black folks don't like this group, or the Native folks, or we're against white folks. It's not about that at all. It's about the systems that oppress and is violent, and whoever's in solidarity with that is our allies and our leaders. Right? Okay, so our energizer, our energizer as organizers, we usually start out with a chant. And the first chant we're going to do to open it up with is, when our communities are under attack, what do we do? You say, organizers, what? There we go. So instead of, I'm going to make it sure we all are on the same chant. We're going to say unite and push back. Okay? You ready? Organizers, I know you know this one. All right. When our communities are under attack, what do we do? All right, good one, good. Okay, again. When our communities are under attack, what do we do?
Unite and push back.
All right, last one. When our communities are under attack, what do we do?
Unite and push back.
Thank you. Thank you. Can we have the second slide up? It's the second website up. Thank you for participating in that. And so what KhAAG does is, when our Southeast Asian immigrants and refugee community in particular is now part of the school to prison to deportation pipeline, which the Latino, Chicano, Hispanic community has been facing for some time with the past administration, the last administration. Our communities, Asian Americans, Southeast Asian Americans, have been deported as well by mass numbers. And so KhAAG partners up with a lot of immigrant and refugee advocacy groups nationally. And this is a resource I wanted to share for those when we talk about reentry and we talk about those who are overly, like communities who are over-policed and we end up in prisons through the decades because of that over-policing. We've come together to create personalized legal support. And so if your family, someone you know, is facing deportation from inside, there are pro bono lawyers who are willing to take on cases because that's what we're needing to do now to help our people who don't know their rights. Like, we have rights. We don't have to open our doors to ICE if they knock on our doors unless they have a warrant. So we're trying to get this information out. This website is craids.org, and it's CSE raids, RAID.org, and it has all the information you need to look into your case file, where to find a pro bono lawyer, organizations who's doing the work. And so please share that. It has all the information specifically to Cambodia, Laos, and Vietnam as well, because those deportations jumped 279% during the last administration for our community. So last one is cfin.org, if you can open that. And I just want to share there's legislation we're working on with national organizations and local ones too. So if La Resistencia is here, we're working with them. In particular, WISN, the Washington Immigrants' Rights group in Washington, WISN. And this is still KhAAG, the third link, please, thank you. So this campaign, we're working nationally to reintroduce two legislation, and I'll do it quickly. You don't have to know everything, just know that there's two legislation. One is to bring back our folks who have been deported, and that includes those who have cases that never got addressed. We're trying to find families, we're trying to find impacted people who qualify for the laws that have changed since their deportation. And then the second legislation is, so that's the first one, and that was just reintroduced. What was the legislation called? The legislation that was just, that's the last one before that. New Way Forward. Sorry, New Way Forward Act, blanked. The New Way Forward Act, which is for all immigrant groups who are facing deportations unjustly. The second legislation is for specifically Southeast Asia because of the war in Cambodia, Laos, and Vietnam, which the civil rights movement at the time fought really hard. Black Power movement folks in particular really fought during the civil rights movement to allow for Southeast Asians during the Vietnam War to be resettled in the US. We're the biggest refugee immigrant group to be resettled in the US in the 80s. And so we recognize the work of the movements and the organizations that's come before us to allow us to join in now to fight back when all our communities are under attack. So those in prison who are not citizens, they are at risk at being sent directly to ICE to be deported after they've served their entire sentence, which is really unfair for those who are looking forward to come back, reunite with their families. So this bill will be reintroduced this year as well to address specifically the refugees who have been caught up in the pipeline to deportation now. You still with me? I see some blanks. All right, I know that was a lot of information, but please find us if you'd like to connect or find more information. We have an event happening tomorrow to welcome folks to join us in this work, or if you just want support, and Buntai has some information on it.
Yes, so if y'all want to continue this group tomorrow, we're hosting just a kickback get-together, not too far from here. Does everybody follow the API KhAAG Instagram feed? Yeah, folks do? Okay, I'm gonna just ask if they post the event on there. It starts at 3 o'clock and it's a few blocks from here. I'll post it on there, but y'all more than welcome. We'll just have food and there's a DJ, there's face painting, family friendly, etc. So hope y'all can make it. I'll just have them posted on there.
All right, we're gonna close it up with one last community chant. You guys ready?
Okay, so like Sina said, it's important for us as Southeast Asians, Cambodians specifically, to recognize the generations of organizing that took place before we even arrived here, specifically by Black liberation fighters during the 70s and the 80s and even before then. Because we, as anti-deportation organizers, recognize deportation and incarceration as part of the legacy of colonialism and imperialism in our countries. We talk about accountability and culpability of our people who are behind bars, but we never talk about the culpability of lawmakers who signed bills that bombed our countries. So, in honor of one of my idols, and I'm sure y'all are familiar with this quote by Assata Shakur, I'm gonna say the first part, and if you guys could just call and response. You guys are familiar. Okay. It is our duty to fight for our freedom. It is our duty to win. We must love each other and support each other. We have nothing to lose but our chains. I said, it is our duty to fight for our freedom. It is our duty to win. We must love each other and support each other. Okay, one more time with your chest, okay? It is our duty to fight for our freedom. It is our duty to win. We must love each other and support each other. We have nothing to lose but our chains. All right, thank you all.
Thank you so much, KhAAG folks. Just real quick, if you signed in already, and if you haven't already, please put your phone number or email on there so we could stay connected and we could send out call to actions after this. I think we're gonna transition. We have another community member that's on the phone right now, and we're gonna transition straight into the community member that's on the phone right now, just to respect their time and stuff. Are y'all ready to listen to what he got to say? Yeah? Okay. It's Billy, right? It's Billy, right?
Can we hear him? Can we? Okay. Yeah, we're good.
All right, cool. Now, what's up? Gumabon, president of the Asian Pacific Outlet Referral Group, the API KhAAG, chair of Dr. Creek Correction on that. Honestly, definitely moved by, what was said about me. This is our day, our duty to fight for our freedom, So I just want to thank you guys so much for coming to this event and supporting our cause and supporting the fight. So much gratitude from us on the inside, for all the love and the solidarity and support that they been working with. And I know, DOC is really trying to limit our work. But they're actively working to stop us. Like we don't have no values or that we don't get no tangible results. If there's a question or any doubt as to the value of our cultural groups and to what our cultural groups bring, like all you gotta do is just take a look around you. Everyone in this room is a friend. The community that we built together. All this is the evidence and the manifestation of the work. What we reach this legacy as represented today to everyone who spoke and recorded and shared their stories within the team, and also the relationships that we have built over the years with the community that we built together. And some of y'all who are formerly incarcerated after King Soviet cultural groups, who are now involved in our communities and doing work in our communities. And that's the beautiful thing about this, right? Is that, our work, the work of the cultural groups, this legacy, the groundwork that has been laid, while it has an impact, real transformative changes in prison, this work has transcended beyond the prison walls and into our community. And this is the community that we built. This is what we built together. We're grounded in our love and our care for each other. We're grounded in our collective liberation. But because at the end of the day, my liberation is connected to your liberation. And your liberation is connected to mine. And the reality is that, DOC, we can't provide it. Right? They can't provide what cultural groups are able to provide. They could try, we could try to provide this, but they can't. Right? We can tap that they practice EDIR, equity, diversity, inclusion, and respect, or claim on the report that they are an agency that actually reflects anti-racist and pro-equity values. But they really don't. Right? It sounds good, like it's good on paper, but it's not really being practiced in here. I can tell you this much, for years, our cultural groups have actually embodied these values and principles, and actually lived out these principles through our work and what we do. While our cultural groups for years have provided prisoners with valuable programs, or culturally relevant, children-responsive programs, and opportunities for folks to develop themselves, educate themselves, heal, and unpack their trauma, to develop skills, engage in meaningful and transformative work, and also to build positive relationships with their families and communities that they are absent from, but still belong to. For years, our cultural groups have served as a vehicle and a platform that empowers us to show up for ourselves. But we are the ones who are taking the initiative in our change. But we are the ones taking the initiative in creating the change that we want to see, in creating opportunities for ourselves when we're in a place where there are very few opportunities. Our cultural groups have been, for many, leading purpose and hope for many of the incarcerated. And everyone else, at least by now, y'all should know that our groups at Consortium have been experiencing many very, very different challenges of being able to function meaningfully within the Department of Correction. And, I really want to highlight the fact that, at first, our cultural groups were operating in a gray area in policy, right? Cultural groups were benefiting from that gray area. But as our groups began to grow and expand with the facilities and our power began to expand as well, it became a problem. And we no longer benefit from that gray area. So, I just want to really highlight that when our groups are not supported or recognized in policy, there is no real ground for accountability. Right? Which ultimately subjects our groups to various levels of oppression, or microaggressions from administration, BOC, and marginalizing of groups for gaining access and resources and equitable support for prison administration and DOC. And this is the problem, right, is that there is no accountability with DOC, right? There's always this motion, you say, well, time to hear, like, yeah, they can do whatever they want because they're DOC. You know, there's no accountability. Like, and then just do whatever they want to do to us, like shut down the group, promote meetings, or stop us from having meetings, or shipping people across the state and putting them in the home for wanting to improve the conditions of their environment. Or they can try to like censor and silence our speeches and censor our educational materials. Or like raise and access for our proposals. Well, we're trying to make a proposal that is in a better context that is that like primarily if we are like trying to do like an event seminar or trying to do a program, we will primarily get our proposals to the facility, the local facility, and they will get approved at the facility. But now headquarters has created this extra step where now we have to submit our proposals to headquarters for an extra review process, which now submits our groups and our programs and our ideas to be co-opted. And DOC is known for co-opted programs. Right? John Taylor has been known to build ideas and programs. You know, and the perfect example of that is that we actually submitted an anti-domestic violence site and anti-communication site to the facility. And it actually got approved at the facility level. And we got sponsors, we figured out the room situation, we even ordered composition notebooks, we even had a date of when we were going to start. And, you know, all of a sudden, you know, John Taylor stopped it off and seized our curriculum. And we were told that now we are not able to facilitate our anti-domestic violence tests anymore because the Department of Correction is doing their own anti-domestic violence tests now, right? And it prevents our programs and ideas from being stolen and our programs from being stolen, and there's no accountability. And we have been very intentional and insistent in being involved in the direction of the policy because one, we're going to be directly impacted by this policy, so we should have input on any policy that we are directly impacted by. And two, it's important that there is a policy that actually supports our existence and our function of cultural groups and recognizes our work, but also provides the protection for our groups and for our programs. So we have drafted our own policy to reflect our collective needs, and it's actually in the back of the zine. You can tap into it. It's I think there's a QR code in the back of the zine. And this policy was actually drafted 2 years ago by the various cultural groups here at Stafford Creek, the Black Prisoners Caucus, the APICAG, the NGC, and the Native Circle. We actually went page by page, word by word, and drafted this policy, and this policy was done in the most accountable way and reflects all of our collective needs. And they actually submitted that to the Department of Corrections. And they actually responded to that, and they were like, oh, yeah, this is cool, this is a great policy, look how you guys did a lot of good work on it. So we're going to use this policy as a reference document to draft our own policy, and we responded right away, and we said, no, you can't use our policy as a reference document to draft your policy. This is a new policy proposal. And what we're asking the committee to do is to advocate and to support this policy that we have drafted as a new policy, and it should not be conflated with the policy that DOC is drafting. And also, we want to encourage our community to continue to establish lines of communication with DOC headquarters and continue to demand accountability and transparency. And the reason why that's important is because DOC oftentimes in the dark, they like to operate in the dark. And the more that we expose things for what they are, and bring it to the light, it sets this tone for accountability, right? And yeah, and you know, before I agree with that, and you know, I just want to thank y'all for hearing me out. You know, I wish I would have been in the car with y'all. I know the homies that I roll out there right now, so man, I just want to tell all the homies, man, I love y'all. And I'm gonna be out there soon with y'all, man. Thank you so much for this time and support on this issue. And closer to the day, and we're really looking forward to what the follow-through looks like after this event and how to mobilize and how to put in this house. So yeah, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Billy. Thank you. I think we're going to transition into the recordings where we left off at. We're going to do 2 recordings, and we're going to let the Youth Consortium come up here and speak their piece and their truth. I think we left off with Francisco Sal. I think Derek Collier's recording. Yeah.
My name is Derek Collier. I'm a longtime member of Nuestro Grupo and the founder of the Streets program. Today, I want to talk a little bit about reentry. More specifically, about the gaping hole in DOC's reentry approach and how the culture groups work to help fill that void. When I started getting involved in leadership positions with KhAAG and with Nuestro Grupo, a funny thing started happening to me. Guys were coming up to me all the time who were about to get out and were freaking out because they had no idea what they were going to do after being released. I guess they assumed that because I was teaching classes, I must really have my shit together and be able to help them. I'd be teaching a Spanish class and someone would raise their hand and ask, how do I get my license? How do I get a social security card? I've never had a job. How can I get custody of my kids back? I had no idea how to answer a lot of these questions, but people kept needing help, so I began looking into things. I started asking my family to look up information online, print it out, and send it to me. I began writing letters to different organizations and requesting information. Throughout this, I started forming relationships, making contact, and that's how Streets was born. We were just addressing an enormous need that DOC was doing absolutely nothing about. Like the young men coming to me for help, each of the first 2 times I was incarcerated, I wanted desperately to succeed when I got out. Neither time did I ever receive any training, support, or resources that was in any way helpful to me upon release. The few staff members who have been willing to talk to me along the way have always led me to believe that it would be extremely difficult to get anyone to trust me or give me a chance because I've been to prison. Unknowingly, I internalized this concept and it kept me from pursuing loftier goals. Minimum wage labor jobs are all I've ever worked because it's all I ever believed I deserved. What I found out when I started writing these letters shocked me. The truth is, there are a ton of great people and organizations out there who are not only willing, but enthusiastic about supporting reentry work. The absolute easiest part of Streets was getting outside organizations to work with us. I discovered that there are unlimited career and education paths available to us, tons of healing and support groups, and there is no reason we can't begin making connections before we get released, so that we have a solid plan that we can follow and a healthy support system once we get out. All these years, the only thing keeping all this support separate from the people who need it is the Department of Correction. They need us to come back to prison. They need us to get out and bail. That's why they release us with nothing but a prison ID, $40, and a bus pass. The few classes that they make us take are only offered to secure grant money, and they are taught by staff who are only there to get a paycheck. They could never offer the support and guidance that Streets offered, because Streets was made up of leaders from every culture group, men that had been through the same struggles and are doing this work because we want to help. We want to see our brothers succeed when they get out. Have you ever wished you could go back in time and talk to your younger self? When I speak to the guys coming into the prison system, I'm talking to my younger self. That's authenticity. No DOC staff member who has never walked a mile in our shoes can make that claim. Also, because most of the leaders from the cultural groups have been in prison over 10 years and tend to be, well, a few years older than when we came in, we are statistically the least likely group to return. On the other hand, many of the young men coming to us for help were statistically in the highest category for likelihood of recidivism. Think about that for a minute. Wouldn't you want a group of men who are the least likely to return to prison, talking to and mentoring a group of men who are most likely to return? And everyone in the room is there because they want to be there. Can you think of a better, more effective model than that? And yet, when we choose to do this work from our own heart and with no incentive for ourselves, not only are we not supported, but we are shut down by DOC and forbidden to continue. Streets is just one example of many programs that have grown out of the culture groups over the years. Not only has DOC shut down these programs, but they want to do away with culture groups altogether to make sure they prevent us from ever creating any powerful vehicles for change ever again. I've seen the Department of Corrections do many bad things over the 20-plus years I've spent in prison. I've seen inmates beaten while in shackles. I've seen people die from medical neglect. I've seen boxes of food that are labeled not for human consumption being scooped out and served on trays. But the intentional killing of the culture group may be the most evil thing I've seen DOC do yet. Please help us fight this. Thank you.
Thank you, Derek. Next, could we go ahead and go into the next recording real quick so the youth consortium group will come up afterwards?
I'm Douglas Ho, 29 years old, and have been incarcerated since I was 18. I'm currently at Coyote Ridge Correction Center and a member of the Asian Pacific Islander Cultural Awareness Group. I was first invited to attend a general meeting back in 2014 at Colin Bay Correction Center, and honestly didn't know what to expect. But why not, right? I gave it a chance. I was facing the most challenging moments of my life after being sentenced to 50 years. No plan or understanding of what my fight was going to take in order for me to get home to my family. What I found in this meeting was a family, a group of men with similar backgrounds, same goals, with the hunger to create a platform for us to be heard, for us to learn, teach, share, and support one another in times where we may have felt that the world was against us. Under these circumstances, trust is what we needed in order to try something that can better us. And the group provided that. It took time for me to settle in and realize that there's progress to be had here for our people and opportunities for us to grow from us working together. So I stayed involved and helped when needed. We made progress. I made progress. At first, the facilities seemed resistant to our direction in creating not only our members, but the population as well. As time went on, we kept focused and finally given that chance. The micromanaging and kickback we got from officers was not as heavy once they got to see and understand the work we put in and why we began to hold youth outreach workshops, partnering with community organizers for at-risk youth, facilitating our own domestic violence and family communication class, along with Asian American studies to immigration seminars and so much more. For our members, along with myself, socializing in this way was foreign. Speaking in front of large groups of people and applying ourselves to the challenges of doing things we would have never done before this allowed us to grow into men that are capable of giving back to the communities we took so much from and assisted us in becoming better men for our families. In saying all this, we come back to the independence of our groups throughout the state. This is vital to improve the quality of life for all men and women in the system. It's vital to progress and rehabilitation. We need this platform. Without the barriers and limitations that will stunt the growth and development of all of us who need it.
Thank you, Douglas. Up next, I just want to say that we always try to center youth leadership. And so up next, we have Shaidan from the Youth Consortium. He's a part of the Youth Consortium Advocacy Group, and they have something to say about some legislations around youth bills and stuff. So welcome up, Shaidan.
What's good, y'all? Hey, when I come up here, first thing I want to say is I want to thank all the elders that spoke before me. As a youth, it's imperative to have them before us and to be able to hear from them and learn from them. And when I say elders, I mean everybody that's older than me. I don't just mean the older folks. I'm talking about just everybody that spoke up there, everybody that spoke from the floor. Like, respect to all of y'all, and I appreciate just being able to have that. Now, I want y'all to also give a round of applause to the Youth Consortium members that are not up here speaking with me, but they're here today. Y'all in the back, yeah, the people that have showed support to this work throughout the years that we've been doing it. So I'll just give a little intro about myself. My name is Shaidan, and today I'm up here representing the efforts and the work that we've done throughout the years that we've been doing this inside out work, right? And so I'm a 3-year-long member of Youth Consortium leadership, and I'm a first-year student in college right now. And it's real interesting. All this work and all this stuff I've been able to do up here with Youth Consortium with Rose has led me down a path where I'm now doing work with political science and public policy, because these are the things that, like, we're not in those spaces, and we need to be in those spaces, because like we're all acknowledging when we're saying send out those emails and call those numbers, is that those places matter, right? Like, that's where all of these things are happening. And as imperative and important as it is to be doing this work on the ground, doing grassroots organizing, right? We still got to be in those spaces, as much as that, like, it's shitty and it sucks. But so I'm gonna start off by talking about the inside out work that we do. And can y'all hear me well? Okay, good. So I want to reiterate the stuff that I heard from the BPC over here, and that is that through inequality and marginalization, the DLC and all of them, the government, they create these conditions for crime. They create the conditions for us to be turned into stuff like this. And so when they say that it could be any of us up in there speaking from this screen instead of from this floor, right? When they say that, they mean it, because that's it. That system is not targeting those folks. It's targeting us folks. You feel me? It's targeting us, and that's what I think is real important to be talking about in this work. So the reason why I think inside out work is so important is because let me pull this down. The reason that I say inside out work is so important is that when we first started this, I had the privilege, Rose, and I have to commend you, Rose, for the introduction that we had to this. We'd all been, I was a high schooler when I started doing this work, y'all. And so the first introduction I had was these letters that Rose had printed out and gotten from a bunch of people on the inside throughout the state. And one of the letters I had the privilege of reading was Derek's, and his parents are here today. And getting to talk to them after reading the letter is just, it's been insane, y'all. But anyway, let me say, this letter I read, first time I'm a high schooler, right? I read this letter and I saw no background. No, I did not know what crime got somebody anywhere. I don't know anything about the trial, the sentencing. All I had was a story in front of me, y'all. I had a story that said, I got a daughter, a fiance, I got people I care about, and I don't want to go into the system, but I keep finding myself back here, and I don't know why. I don't know how to undo this. And that was just it hit so hard for me, because you have to realize, nobody wants to be in there, and it's up to us. It's up to us to provide them the resources to not have to go back. And that's why this inside out work is so important to me specifically. I know it's torn apart my families, and it's torn apart many other families in this room. And so I just want to put this out there that this work needs to be done, and it needs to be done by us, because we're out here and we got the space, we got the time, we got the tools to do it, right? And I want to reiterate that for all of y'all. We have the time, the space, and the tools to do it. We got these phones. We can send these emails. I just sent one while I was sitting right there. Come on, y'all. We got a QR link with all the email, all this. You all don't even have to write the email. We got it for you. You just got to send it. But yeah. So I just want to say, and then in this beginnings to this inside out work that we're doing in the Youth Consortium, right? I think one of the first people we had the opportunity to talk to on the inside was Kamani, and it was crazy, because I remember hearing his voice, and then a couple months later, we hosted this event where we were welcoming people back. We had a little kind of lakeside barbecue thing going on that Rose put together and everybody at the YC put together, and I saw Kamani face to face, and I was like, you was on Zoom calls with us from inside, and it's just, guys, y'all, this work that we doing, it matters and it works. People are able to essentially like build resumes from this to show their judges and show the people that are keeping tabs on them that they are doing something productive and that they do want to be back in community and that they care about being productive and doing the things that are supposed to matter to them, but really they care about community, right? And they care about all of us, and we should care about them. And that's really what I'm up here to be saying, because that's the things I feel like all this inside work has taught me, and it's invaluable, y'all. And so I'm gonna give the opportunity to talk about this bill, but first I'm gonna do a poem that I wrote. Let me just get there. All right. So this poem that I wrote in the Youth Consortium, Rose had us do this assignment where we just, we wrote a poem. We actually did a poem workshop. We wrote for a couple weeks, 4 weeks, I think. Just wrote a bunch of poems. Yep, with the women, yep, on the inside, and we shared poems back and forth with them, and every week we'd get a little bit better. You feel me? A little bit more articulate and better at conveying our words through poetry. And this is really my end result. So I'm gonna share it with y'all today. It's called "Rotted from the Inside Out" by Jaden Crawford. Its red skin like bark, it's gorgeous at a glance. Its branches cloak the forest below, giving nothing a chance. Its rotten roots just sit in the way. The nutrients it takes waste within its decay. It captures all sun and rain within its height. Stormy nights only sway it from left to right. How can a tree so rotted still stand? How can its roots be so bland? We sit among the plants and saplings shaded beneath its monstrous size. We came with axes in hand to ensure that it dies. The swing from the axe makes a stale crunch in the hollow bones of the tree. Leaves rattle from the branches and fruits bruise on or fall to our feet. Our arms are tired, but we will not stop. The only thing in our minds is the seeds that we brought. Thank you, y'all. And so the last point I want to bring up here while I'm with y'all and while I got y'all's attention, hey, let me make sure I still got y'all's attention, actually. Can I get some snaps again? I like that, the snaps. Appreciate y'all. So the last point I want to make up here is this juvenile points bill, right? So currently, the prior juvenile offenses of an individual can be used to influence and determine a sentencing range for separate offenses, right? So y'all heard so many people come up here or on the screen talking about how they had done something when they were juvenile, basically when they were not in a position to really be making decisions for their adult selves and their adult lives, right? And judges right now have the ability to use that to determine their sentence. And so with this bill that we're talking about, what it's supposed to do is to make sure that that can't be used against them. It can't affect what their sentencing is, right? And it's supposed to work retroactively. That's what we intended for this bill to do. That's what it was written, and that's what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to help everybody that's inside right now take off those extra points that were thrown on there, or those extra years, really, of their lives that are being wasted in there. It's supposed to take those off because they're not supposed to be there, right? And so what this bill acknowledges is that is wrong, that nobody should be facing an additional 2 years for something that they did when they were a high schooler. You know what I'm saying? None of us are currently should be held accountable for anything we did as high schoolers. You know what I'm saying? So why are they? And so my point, y'all, is this retroactivity has been removed from this bill. And so when we say we're sending these emails, right? We're not only sending emails to advocate for this bill, but we're sending emails to advocate for retroactivity being entered back into these bills, because these are so important, right? It's so important that we advocate for people that are facing a carceral system but are also already within it. And that's a trap, man. They get people and they're already there. So when we're advocating for a bill like this, they're not getting represented. And so what this retroactivity does is it represents everybody. It represents the people that are there. It represents the people that can find themselves there. So it represents all of us. And that's what matters. So I'm going to just say that again, y'all. Please send out those emails. And I'm going to pass the mic off just real quick. A protest on Thursday, 11 a.m. in Olympia. Y'all heard that. Put that in your calendars. I'm putting mine right now. Yeah, of course.
Thank you, Jaden. Hello, everyone. My name is Nikel Walker. I'm the Community Organizing Director at Collective Justice, and I'm here to talk more about the Juvenile Points Bill. This is a bill that folks inside and outside have been working on for over 4 years, and it's an important bill that will retroactively stop the practice of automatically sentencing people to longer prison sentences because of crimes they committed as children. I'm sure we all know Black and brown people inside receive longer sentences because of the juvenile points. 80% of Native American people, 67% of Asian Pacific Islanders, 53% of Black people, and 44% of Latinx people in prison had juvenile points used in their sentencing. These juvenile points can add considerable amount of time. Some people have had over a decade added to their sentence just because of things they did when they were young. So the Juvenile Points Bill, EHB 1324, it finally made it to the House, and it got passed through the House and into the Senate Law and Justice Committee. However, the committee took retroactivity out of it and sent it to the Rules Committee. Passing HB 1324 without retroactivity allows these legislators to appear progressive. People in Washington love to appear progressive, while maintaining mass incarceration and leaving all of our loved ones inside who are depending on this bill the chance to be resentenced. Liberation isn't going to come from legislation. Again, I will say liberation will not come from legislation, but while all of us are here on the outside, we have to use all of the tools that we have to get our people free. And so we're asking people to come with us on Thursday, April 6th, that's next Thursday at 11 a.m., and we are going to meet at the Capitol building on the South Lawn by the fountain. There's a chance for all of us to meet one-on-one with our senators and let them know why we need to pass this bill with retroactivity. And we also will be holding a rally. If you take your cameras out, Cyril earlier mentioned we all have these smartphones. If you take your camera out, you can pull your camera up and face it at this QR code. An email will automatically pop up. The email is already drafted. All of the senators that are Democrats, their emails are already there. And we just need you to hit compose mail and then hit send. And if you could share this with your people, so take a picture of that QR code. We need to do all we can on the outside to make sure our folks inside get free. And this is one tactic that we can use. Thank you.
Hey, could we stand up and give a round of applause for the young people that's doing this work? Also, I want to further what Nikel just said. Send that QR code to your family members too, and community members too, the folks that are not here. I think up next we have Zimbabwe on the phone. Zimbabwe is our last caller, I believe. Please pay close attention to what Zimbabwe has to say. Zimbabwe actually has the call to action. Then we'll go from there. Is folks ready to listen? Yeah? Zimbabwe's live too on the phone, so. Is it good?
This is Zimbabwe.
We hear you.
I'm here. This is Zimbabwe. Okay. This is Toure, Zimbabwe. I'm a member of Black Prisoners Caucus. I'm also a sole protector of Black Prisoners Caucus and all related. Peace and blessings to everyone in attendance. First of all, I'd like to extend our heartfelt appreciation to the Asian Council and Referral Service for sponsoring this event. I'd also like to thank, I understand we have an elder, Mark Cook, in attendance. I'd like to thank the BPC Community Group, the Nuestro Cultural Group, the KhAAG, CC, and all others who have made this event possible. We appreciate y'all eternally and from the bottom of our heart. I'm quite sure everybody has expressed to you exactly what's taking place, what this event is about, what's going on in this particular facility and other facilities throughout the Department of Corrections here in Washington. To be clear, what's going on is a severe repression campaign. We believe that the chief architect of this repression campaign is Taure. We're not even really sure exactly what her position is at headquarters, but we do know that she is assigning her designees throughout the facility to prohibit all possible groups from being activated. What this does, in essence, is prevent us all from being able to build with one another and to share our experiences and our knowledge with one another towards self-improvement. This also prevents us from being able to take place or take part in community development. This is essential for all of us because we've determined that there's nobody better situated to address a lot of the things that we are suffering from in our community than those of us who have participated from those very same ills and perpetuated them at one time. So now that we have went through a process, we have subjected ourselves to a process to transform ourselves. It's our intention to give back through our creativity. There's a 4-point mission that we would like to put forward to all in attendance. This 4-point mission is designed to be able to reactivate the cultural groups and to provide us with the necessary participation of our community groups and protection from any retaliation that we may be subjected to in these confinements. And so first and foremost on this 4-point mission is our desire and our need to reinstate all groups. What we need from all of you is your participation in this regard. If you look at the brochures and pamphlets that have been handed out, I believe, there are QR scan codes on there. Those QR scan codes will allow you to be able to access various different information. This information is important. Some of this information includes the policy that the collective, the cultural collective groups here have been able to put together in lieu of establishing a policy that will govern said groups. Headquarters Nutrition has been procrastinating for a couple of years and putting this policy together, but at the same time they can activate various different aspects and activities that would affect cultural groups in the negative. So what we need from you, as I said, will be a campaign. The second point is to be able to include prisoners, to include prisoners' input into the establishment of the policy. So what we have done, we have taken it upon ourselves to begin a process by which we could reach out to our various different authorities in headquarters and above, expressing to them our desire to participate in this process by whatever means we are able to, so that we can have some say in regard to what may be the rules that govern us. This is something that falls directly in line with what the governor of this state has expressed in an executive order that he put out a few years ago. That executive order has to do with diversity, equity, and inclusion. Each facility is charged with the responsibility of putting together a report detailing exactly how they intend to put forth these issues or demonstrate these issues of diversity, equity, and inclusion. It seems that somebody on this end really didn't get the memo because we haven't been included in anything, and it's definitely is no diversity being demonstrated here, even though they say they have a diversity group. The third point of our 4-point mission is to have community input. This is also in line with our desires and the desires of the executive order. The community is supposed to participate in any decisions or affairs that could affect the community at large and even the state agencies. Again, it seems that this is something that someone didn't get memo on, because every time, as we have been told, every time our community stakeholders have attempted to participate in various different meetings that would address the cultural groups' affairs or anything related to the cultural groups, meetings have been postponed, dismissed, and other tactics of obfuscation has been put together, put in place to prevent community from actually participating. We believe again that all of this work stems from downtown, because as we understand, she's the point person at headquarters governing these type of affairs. And as a result of many efforts and every effort that we have put forth thus far, our 4th point is the desire to be protected against any and all retaliation that we may be subjected to at the hands of these authorities. Some of you may be familiar with an event that took place approximately 2 years, maybe 2.5 years ago in Cloud Bay, when in the heat of a lot of other improper activities that was going on at the hands of these authorities, our group of men was rounded up in Cloud Bay, approximately 40-something men, I think it was. And they were shipped out in the wee hours of the morning and sent to Walla Walla and put in segregation. And it was only as a result of the outcry of our community stakeholders that this wrong was rectified. But what a lot of people don't know is that immediately after this rectification took place, the authorities went on a severe campaign against cultural groups. And there was a lot of backlash on the low. There was a lot of retribution that was demonstrated, on the low. And the word on the street was that the authorities would do everything in their power not to allow cultural groups to get to this point of power and influence, whereas they can have someone activated anytime a severe wrong is being projected on us. And so it seems that they're true to their word, because ever since then, the systematic attack against cultural groups has been intensified and actualized until we find ourselves where we are today. When you go into the QR scan code, again, you should be able to access information in relation to the policy that we put together, but you also should be able to access information in regards to the executive order that comes from the government, Executive Order 2204, and this is in regards to diversity, equity, and inclusion. There also should be information in regards to what they call the playbook, or how they should actualize this particular executive order. And you'll see throughout the tenets of this playbook that it's supposed to be community involvement at every stage. This is essential because it is through you guys primarily that we have a say in the various things that will take place within these institutions, and how they will affect us, how they will be established, and even when it comes down to us being able to simply have a conversation regarding this authority figures, related to our desire to just do everything in our power to aid and assist one another in improving the quality of our lives now and for when we get released. this is how important it is. We all know that the Department of Corrections at one point in time used to advertise and say that they was all about the rehabilitation of people. But we know that not to be true. We was able to discover that the Department of Corrections here in the state of Washington was established as such and as a corporation in 1981. And it seems that since 1981, they've been all about the business of repression. They've been all about the business of oppression. This is the nature of this environment. But with the mentality of society changing as it is, transformative justice being one of the key terms that people are throwing around. Justice, re-entry, and things like that, all it is are key terms that people are throwing around. Where you also have, unbeknownst to a lot of people, you have a small party, if you will, that have a vested interest in maintaining the status quo. And this is just one of the ways by which they go about doing that. You know what I mean? To do everything in our power, and then to keep us from being able to better equip ourselves to be truly functional and access to our community. So what we ask from the bottom of our heart is for you guys to begin to reach out. We ask for an email campaign. We ask for another campaign. We ask for a phone call campaign. We ask for that all throughout the state of Washington and even throughout this nation. Because those of us who either have people that are incarcerated or formerly incarcerated themselves know and understand that when a man or a woman makes up his mind in these prisons to transform themselves, then we actually find that we can achieve the highest height of qualification to be functional and access within our own community by our own hands. So, with that, again, I want to extend our heartfelt thanks and appreciation, you know, and hope that you guys have enjoyed yourselves and you receive enough information, you know what I mean, to go out and get work done as much as you possibly can. Thanks.
Thank you, Zimbabwe. Again, we made it easy for folks to access the advocacy that folks inside want. The QR codes are on the Zine. Scan the QR codes, share it with your family, share it with your friends, share it with other community members. I would say this, if you could take enough time to post a picture on Facebook, on Instagram, you could take enough time to scan the code and help get folks free. Just to contextualize a little bit more, Don Taylor, when I was inside, I dealt with Don Taylor myself. Don Taylor is a very white woman, and she's under this idea that all cultures are the same and all cultures should be celebrated the same. And now that she's at DOC headquarters, she's trying to make that same policy across the state. And what it does, it makes DOC's jobs easier, and it makes their job easier, and it lessens their budget to support our healing, to support our rehabilitation, and to connect with our families. For example, how this policy played out of recent, some of our community members at Area Heights currently are organizing an API event. We have a yearly celebration usually, and usually in the past, because our families get to come to the event, we were able to share a whole meal with our families, like whether it was rice, chicken, or a stew, or some kind of culturally relevant meal. However, this event that they're organizing towards now, DOC, citing this new policy, said your families could only enjoy muffins and light refreshments if they come up. They can't even have access to the vending machine. So this is how this new policy is playing out, and I just wanted to give that example. I think what we're gonna get into now, I just wanna say it'll be dope if folks have capacity, because we gotta be out of here at a certain time to help us clean up, if folks have capacity. So you know, we are so grateful that ACRS provided us a space and let us have this space, and it'll be gracious of us to help them clean up as well when we leave here. We have a few more recordings, and we should be done. Please listen again, like being inside, I understand how important it is to get my voice outside and how important it is for folks to listen. And it takes a lot of effort and courage, given what DOC could do to folks for putting out these messages, putting out these recordings. So it's important for us to stay listening and stay intent on listening to what folks have to say. I think we are at Ralph Dunnan. Yeah? Okay. Thank you, y'all. Thank you for being patient with us.
Hello, my name is Ralph Dunuan. I'm from the Bay Area in Northern California. I've been incarcerated for 24 years. I'm currently held at the Washington Correction Center in Shelton, Washington. I am a member of the Asian Pacific Islander Cultural Awareness Group, or API-KhAAG, Tribal Sons Concerned Lives Organization, and I am a lead organizer for Liberation Media Northwest. Culture is defined as the shared beliefs, values, customs, and symbols of a group of people. The element of culture is the sharing, which produces a sense of community and belonging. It is the product of learning. As a youth, what I learned was a culture of gangs, drugs, and violence. It wasn't until after years of incarceration that a friend of mine brought me to an Asian Pacific Islander Cultural Awareness Group meeting that I began to see the difference between street culture and ethnic culture. The more I began participating in API-KhAAG meetings throughout the years, the more I became aware of another more positive way to exist. At the same time, being both Filipino and Native American, I participated in spiritual traditions like sweat lodge ceremonies and cultural history. It was learning what I have through both these groups that helped me to redefine who I am. I began learning more about my ancestors and the traditions from both ethnic cultures. I learned more about the struggles that my ancestors went through, the sacrifices they made, and the hardships they endured. It was this kind of learning that changed not only my behavior, but the direction that my life was going. Growing up in the Bay Area of Northern California, I learned to be reactive to the environment around me. I ignored the family issues. I buried feelings that I was told not to have. I was told that all I would be is a criminal and be dead by 18. All these things I was led to believe. It was not only environmental traumas that I faced, but also generational traumas that my youthful mind could not truly understand or know how to deal with. Our independent culture groups allow us to become more self-aware. They provide space to build communication skills, examine history and how it applies to who we are, and work towards impacting our communities in positive ways. These groups open doors back to the communities we left better individuals than we left at. These independent culture groups are important to the reintegration process to communities and give members the opportunity to be positive mentors to younger people who are trying to find something better out of life. They also play a pivotal role in strengthening families and exhibit positive interest in communities. Thank you for hearing my story and taking the time to consider my struggle.
My name is Michael Matol. Some people know me here as Big Mike. I'm from San Diego, California. I've been incarcerated currently for 6 years, and I'm housed at Airway Heights Correction Center. The organization I represent is Asian Pacific Islander Cultural Awareness Group. Cultural awareness groups have contributed to my life immensely when it came down to establishing a cultural awareness group here at the prison. The organization of Fight in Utopia, Washington, have supported by allowing us to express our concerns and needs, and these cultural organizations address the individuals who can help with establishing a group, which in turn awareness of our people and the culture and the changes we want to better our lives. Also, moral support and timely and efficient advice also has played a huge role in the support
yet needed to continue the fight for our people. We have faced numerous obstacles, such as not receiving a response to our questions and concerns from the Associate Superintendent and headquarters in regards to needing to establish a cultural group and the benefits it has on the population and what the positive programming that the API-CAG has to offer that benefits not only our lives, but those in the community that we will be releasing to. The importance of cultural awareness groups impact lives for the future of our children, our society, and our people while still keeping the authenticity of our culture that our ancestors have passed on to us, which preserves our culture and our ways. Thank you.
My name is Grin, Arkanit. I was born in Thailand, but I was raised around Seattle area. And I've been incarcerated for going on 22 years now. Currently, I'm at Stafford Creek Corrections Center. And the organization I'm representing, API-CAG. And how the independent cultural awareness groups have contributed to my life. Man, they gave me a platform to, be confident about myself and allow me to, speak my mind and, just be myself, period. And the obstacle that I have been facing is DOC mainly because they make it hard on our sponsor. They sometimes sabotage, scheduling or not put us on a call out. And it's just the little stuff that you would think they'll have it organized and and that's a big problem we have with the, DOC. And this independent cultural awareness group is very important to me specifically because it just gave me a purpose, while doing all this time. It just gave me something to do and be proud of myself and be able to share this with my community, So that's all I have to say about that.
My name is Israel Morfin. I don't know if any of my DOC number 855482. I'm from Yakima County. I've been incarcerated for 14 years. I'm currently at Area Heights facility. The organization I represent is Hispanic Culture Group. How has the Dependent Culture Awareness Group have contributed to my life? It has contributed in my life by bringing a new outlook and understanding of others, respecting and recognizing others' religions, political ideas, and opinions, to be humble to others regardless of our differences. It has shown me that by respecting these things when dealing with others, success will definitely follow. What has been the obstacles I have faced, antisocial, getting out of my comfort zone and letting go of prison culture that is still thriving and has a negative impact on our incarcerated community, and most important, with the community in our society. Says what is important about our independent cultural awareness group. Okay, the Latino is his Mexican heritage, which most has been lost throughout history, has already been a struggle to obtain and understand. With the limited resources and space we have available to us in order to educate our people, it is important that we stay focused on our Latino descendants to truly be able to increase our chances to pass down our history and teach others our heritage. It is vital we stay independent to be able to accomplish our goals so we can take that next step once successful with educating our Latino descendants.
My name is El. I'm from Seattle. I've been down 17 years, and I have 14 years left on my sentence. I'm currently incarcerated at Stafford Creek Correction Center. I represent the Black Prisoners Caucus and the Cultural Collective. I've been a member of the BPC since the age of 18, and from the very beginning, The BPC has always accepted and embraced me regardless of where I was at in my journey of self-discovery. I remember sitting in meetings and being constantly reminded that the whole is no greater than the sum of its parts. We would talk about prison living conditions and issues we were facing inside and the best ways to address them. We would talk about our loved ones and better ways to build relationships with our families. We would talk about our community and ways to break cycles that led us to prison, and about how to overcome poverty, hunger, housing insecurity, disease, and gang violence. We would talk about our obligations to look out for one another, to support one another, to empower one another, to give back to community. I'm grateful to the Village of Hope and the People's Institute for Survival and Beyond for introducing us to Afrocentric principles, cultural education, and social and political framework to help us better understand the roots of our history, culture, and struggle from the position of Black prisoners in the United States. I'm grateful to be able to collectively practice unity, collective work and responsibility, cooperative economics, self-determination, and creativity with people who look like me, come from similar struggles, and are headed in the same direction as me. I'm grateful to learn and practice undoing racism principles across racial lines and being able to come together with the API, KhAAG, NGC, and the Native Circle to form the Cultural Collective and build a strong community collective of members who care about liberation and emancipation the same way we do, and who equally want that for all who are in prison and all who are oppressed. The collective power and push that I have witnessed and experienced in these spaces has been life-changing. Seeing the blossoms of our shared pedagogy, watching our collective agency change the material living conditions and lives around us, I can't think of or imagine a better way to seize the moment and time that we are living in. In direct response to the issues that bring us here today, there is no singular cultural event or self-awareness course that the Department of Corrections could ever provide that could adequately substitute this. Imagining these circumstances without the forms of structure and support the Cultural Collective provides, I think about the young age I came into prison, the knowledge and the awareness I was lacking, and the love and support that was absent, how isolating and alienated I would feel in this unpredictable, unsafe environment. With that, I can't help but to notice how deliberately exclusionary EDIR really is when it's utilized for state interests and not the interests of prisoners. With the blatant disregard for existing cultural groups, it's easy to see that diversity can be used as a weapon to inflict racial oppression and disposability. In this moment, I question if the architects of equity, diversity, inclusion, and respect intended it for it to be this way. Whether or not this is DOC's intention, the impact has felt dehumanizing, destabilizing, destructive, and devastating. And we must do everything we can to stop this cultural and political attack, to preserve the spaces and processes we created that sustain us as we continue to strive for collective survival, well-being, and freedom. Our hard work shall not be contingent on a government-funded cultural experiment where its prison policy allows for racialized oppression and violence to be carried out. There is no rationalizing away this injustice. By doing so, we'll only scale us back further into oppression, the very condition we are trying to escape.
My name is Jimmee. My DOC number is 843065. I'm currently at the Washington State Penitentiary. I've been incarcerated for almost 25 years. Since the age of 18, I'm now 43. I'm part of the Asian Pacific Islander Cultural Awareness Group. I also take part in the Native American Religious Group. One of the things that has helped me appreciate who I am and what I am is the Cultural Awareness Group. When I was younger and on the streets, I took those for granted. I came to prison. These older members brought me into their fold. They included me. And I'm someone of a mixed Asian ethnicity where I could speak 3 languages of my mixed background. I take pride in that. And some of these groups, like the API, KhAAG, help bring focus on certain aspects of my cultural background that I've missed out on. Some of these things include traditional cultural practices, songs, dances, socializations, and gatherings. In turn, we teach and pass these things on to the next generation, which is identical to our traditional practices. And some of the obstacles that I've faced are being targeted or suppressed by DLC. Washington State Department of Correction categorizes or labels my race as a security threat group, and we get punished for it. It's important to have these independent cultural awareness groups because it helps people understand who they are. I once heard or read somewhere that one of the things that's going to save you is your culture, which is 100% true. Without our cultural identity, we are nothing. Our cultural awareness gives us value and gives us worth.
Hey, real quick, this next recording is from my little bro, my nephew, Jerome Tualapehosa. If y'all know their story, read about it. Were awarded the state. James and Jerome and Jojo were awarded the state since they were children, but they are still children, yes. But that same state that was supposed to take care of them since they were children also locked them up and punished them and left them houseless, left them displaced, and locked them up. So I think I wanted to say that because, like him being up at Column Bay right now, and he said he went over, he's trying to organize now as a young person in there, and he said he's seen our bylaws, the Constitution, and seen our names on it, myself, Felix and stuff, and said he want to organize in that way as a young person and how he's dreaming it and imagining about liberation. Yeah, it does something to me, so please listen to the little bro's recording.
To formally introduce myself, my name is Jerome Taufelicia. He, him. I'm from Seattle, Washington. I've been incarcerated for 7.5 years now. I'm currently in Column Bay, and I'm representing the API-CAG as the president. The Cultural Awareness Group have been a positive impact in my life by giving me confidence and motivation to learn more about the culture and my ethnicity. Some obstacles that I have faced is trying to figure out my next move on my appeal stuff so I can come home and enjoy life, and then actually join this program to help the API-CAG and also other individuals that are incarcerated. But outside of that, I try the best way I know how to impact the life of others. And the reason why I feel that it is important to have an independent cultural awareness group is so that these groups would help display to our family and friends who help support our rehabilitation, the effort and commitment we dedicate to ourselves for our future and the future of our children. But it will also allow us to show unity to each other and to help teach one another their native heritage, to transpire for the betterment of our lives, to be the most supportive husband, father, son, and friend to the community. Upon our release from incarceration, I feel that having this type of group will, help us become closer to one another as we learn our culture and where our people came from. But yeah, my name is Jerome Taufelicia, also known as Teddy Jinx.
My name is Lenny Monkoff. I'm from Spokane, Washington. I've been incarcerated since 2015, and I'm currently in Washington State Corrections for Women. The organization that I'm representing is API, and the cultural awareness groups have contributed to my life. Personally, I believe cultural differences are significant in encouraging solidarity and open-mindedness within groups and individuals. And in doing so, the awareness of varying cultures is heightened, bringing forth fulfillment in communities. An analogy that comes to mind is individual ingredients in a tasty dish. Each ingredient, regardless of how much or type, has a specific part to enrich the dish, right? So each ingredient having a certain purpose that the other ones are not meant to fulfill. A few obstacles that I've come across while being incarcerated is the healthcare inadequacies. Being incarcerated exacerbates the lack of treatment, and then also like other things, small things like limited ethnic choices on canteen. I believe cultural differences should be embraced because it bridges the gaps among differing groups. When this happens, us, a society, develop open-mindedness and mutual respect. So we should nurture cultural differences because they are a pivotal fabric in communities.
Thank you for listening to the folks recording. Again, it takes a lot of effort and courage on their behalf. I think the last thing we want to do is, if there's family members here with folks inside, we want to give y'all space to say a little something, if y'all want to. Is there any family members here with folks inside that want space to say something? Cassandra, would you love to say something? Is there anybody else? Does anybody else want to say anything? Yeah? Yeah?
I just want to make sure that we, like Michael Bune right here, who made this space available for us, and without him, we would not be gathering here today. So could you guys give it up for Mike, please? Thank you, Mike. Appreciate you. So he played a big part in arranging this. He facilitated meetings for the guys inside for the last 6 or 7 weeks, every Friday, and it was a pleasure working with Mike. And so, thank you, Mikey. And also, everybody that contributed to this event today, I just want to make sure that they get thanked and that you guys recognize them. It was Kappa, KhAAG was here every week. Frank Lewis, I think he was part of the Justice League. He helped us, and who am I missing? Just say ARCS. It was a big role. So thank you everyone for coming. I want to thank all of you guys. And like I said, these guys are crying out for help, and that if you guys can follow that zine and call DOC and don't go for their little buzzwords about cultural diversity, or right now they don't want any peer-led. So what they're calling it now, they don't want any peer-led organizations. And those peer-led organizations are the ones that are giving these guys a new chance, and the opportunity to learn something viable in their lives. So thank you.
Yeah, ditto to all what Andy just said. Is it okay if I let Jerome say hi? He just happened to call me. Yeah? Is it okay with folks? He's on the phone right now. He just happened to call me. Go ahead. You on. Say something.
What's good with it? So my name is Jerome Topper here. Like I said, people know me as Teddy James, but I do want to thank the Cultural Awareness Group and everybody that supported the movement out there in the Inside Out Project and with the FIGHT program and everything else. We're going to sit together, solidify together, and move as one.
Do you want to say one of your poems or writing real quick?
Yeah, I had wrote this song at my sentencing. So it's called Let Us Go. You only need the light when it's burning low. Only miss the sun when it starts to snow. Only hate the road when you're missing home. And only know you love us when you let us go. See, I was just a kid when I was homeless. I tried to find a way out, but I was hopeless. And I survived by selling drugs to the dope sticks. And all them drug addicts and prostitutes became a friend. I was immune to this poverty and life within. Vividly remember when I used to live in tents. I used to wonder if my family cared know how I've been. Nobody there to guide us in this life of sin. I hope and pray that me and James get another chance, so I can show the world that I can be a better man. And if they seen or felt my life, they would understand that the life that I lived, it was never planned. My mom was on them drugs, my dad was locked up in prisons. CPS never cared about what we was living. I know that life without parole was an artistic vision, but I was tossed in these streets with no chance to succeed, and placed in that place with no chance to be free. Can you ever picture yourself if you were me? You only need the light when it's burning low. Only miss the sun when it starts to snow. Only hate the road when you're missing home. And only know you love us when you let us go.
Hey.
Talk about it, dude.
Yeah. Thank you, little bro. I love you.
Yeah, love you too, bro.
Yeah. All right. Call to actions on the zine. A reminder again is easy. Again, if you could post a picture on Instagram or Facebook, you can scan the code and do the call to action. To clarify the cards again.
Just a reminder, if there's family in the room, you have family and staff retreat.
He's on.
Food cards at $50 on the vending machines. Come get one, please.
Yeah, is everybody good? Is everybody good? Thank you so much for coming. Share the news information with your family. Connect with folks. We are here trying to do the work of liberation for our folks inside, for our family members and friends inside. Whatever we can do to get them out. We know what they're facing and the system they're facing. So connect with folks, exchange emails, exchange phone numbers and stuff, and do the call to action. Thank you, everybody. Get home safe. It's a Saturday. Don't drink too much.